Hi everyone. Sorry for the late start. I've had quite a busy day, including a surprise night shift. But yeah, I'm now ready to do the 17th celebrity typing live stream. And I can see you've already got a very kind um super chat from Isaac for Winfield Scott. So that's who we're going to start with today, Winfield Scott. All right, let's take a look. Winfield Scott. Ah. So Isaac's properly moved on now from comic books to historical figures. All right, bit more variety. Fair enough. Let's take a look at Winfield Scott. So he's an American military commander and a presidential candidate. So he's commanding general of the United States, something between the army. Yeah, army from 1841 to 1861. Was a veteran of the War of 1812, American Indian Wars, Mexican-American War, and the early stages of American Civil War. He was the Whig Party's presidential nominee in the 1852 election, but was defeated by Democrat Franklin Pierce. He was known as Old Fuss and Feathers for his insistence on proper military etiquette, and the Grand Old Man of the Army for his many years of service. All right. So he was born near Petersburg, Virginia, trained as a lawyer and had a brief militia service, and joined the army as a captain of light artillery, served the Canadian front. So lots of being in the military, of course. He unsuccessfully sought the presidential nomination three times. He won it in 1852 when the party was in danger of dying off. The Whigs were severely divided, comprised 1850, and Democrat Franklin Pierce won a decisive victory over his former commander. Franklin Pierce was not a particularly good president, but he did win in that election. Nevertheless, Scott remained popular among the public. He received a brevet promotion to lieutenant general, becoming the first U.S. Army officer to hold that rank since George Washington. Wow. He peacefully solved the Pig War in Washington Territory, ending the last long series of British-American border conflicts. And despite being a Virginia native, he stayed loyal to the Union when the Civil War broke out and served as an essential advisor to President Abraham Lincoln during the opening stages of the war. He has a strategy known as the Anaconda Plan, but retired in 1861 after Lincoln increasingly relied on General George B. McClellan for military advice and leadership. In retirement, lived at West Point, where he died on May 29th, 1866. He's been known as one of the most accomplished generals in the US history. Okay, so someone who's definitely in for the long haul in terms of the military. Wasn't necessarily as appreciated as others by Abraham Lincoln, but sought political office and was known for a certain fastidiousness in terms of correct army etiquette, you could say. See what else we can find out about him. See if Grokkopedia has something more interesting to say. Mm-hmm. Mm. Let's see what we get. Mm. Mm. Self-taught military preparation enlistment. Orphaned by age 17 after deaths of both parents, he received no formal military training, but immersed himself in independent study of military history and tactics prior to entering service, drawing inspiration from classical and European examples to grasp principles of discipline and maneuver. Briefly studied law at the College of William and Mary, and apprentice under Pittsburgh attorney, he shifted focus, escalating amid escalating U.S.-British tensions, particularly the Chesapeake Leopard affair of 1807, which Haydn calls for coastal defense. Okay, so this is a self-taught individual, so a very intelligent person. Personal habits. He exemplified military discipline in his personal conduct. Early in his career, decrying the habits of intemperate drinking, prevalent among some officers, and enforcing strict punishments for such infractions among troops. His emphasis on professionalism extended to daily routines of rigorous drill and order, though specific details of his private diet or leisure remain sparsely documented. Of his later corpulence suggests indulgence in rich fare. He endured significant health challenges stemming from wartime injuries and age-related ailments. During the Battle of Lundy's Lane, he sustained multiple severe wounds, including gunshot injuries to the shoulder and other areas, as well as a sword thrust, which necessitated prolonged recovery and removed him from active duty for the war's duration. By the Civil War's outset, aged 74, he was afflicted with gout, rheumatism, dropsy, vertigo, and extreme obesity, weighing over 300 pounds, impairing mobility when he could not mount a horse unaided. Maybe there's some reason why Abraham Lincoln wasn't taking him as seriously at that point. These conditions prompted his resignation as commanding general in 1861, though he continued advisory roles to his death in 1866 at West Point, aged 79. His residence reflected his Virginia origins and later northern military base. He maintained ties to the state early in life, including post-marriage quarters. He spent 5 years at West Point, where he succumbed to illness. Hmm. Okay, let's see. His appointment by John Tyler intensified his long-standing rivalry with Major Edwin P. Gaines, who contested Scott's seniority and command authority based on brevet ranks earned in earlier wars. So he escalated private correspondence and administrative friction, prompting Tyler to mediate, while Scott wrote sharply critical letters to the president accusing Gaines of insubordination and undermining army discipline. A military court of inquiry was convened to examine the conduct of both officers regarding rank precedence with administrative orders. It exonerated Scott of former misconduct, but formally reprimanded him for intemperate language toward Gaines, highlighting tensions of military hierarchy and civilian oversight. Under Polk, who was in office in 1845, I'm distrustful to Whig-aligned Scott. Administrative relations deteriorated amid preparations for the Mexican-American War. Polk's administration viewed Scott's independent streak and political ambitions suspiciously, leading to delays in authorizing his field command and interference in army promotions. These episodes underscored his challenges in maintaining army cohesion against partisan interventions. Interesting. I'm wondering if he might be. There seems to be someone who knows his own mind quite a lot and doesn't like being contradicted in terms of the sort of top-down military approach, but at the same time is seen as quite independent in doing so. This political alignment with the Whig Party developed in the 1830s amid opposition to Democratic President Andrew Jackson's policies, including the spoils system and aggressive states' rights assertions during the nullification crisis of 1832. As a career military officer favoring a strong national government and professional army, Scott found ideological kinship with the Whigs' emphasis on federal infrastructure, economic protectionism, and resistance to Jacksonian populism. That seems to be this is a top-down structure sort of guy, I think, which is why I was in the military for so long. It just suited him so well. He had to be sought the Whig presidential nomination, but yielded to Zachary Taylor after multiple ballots, reflecting party preference for another war hero, broader appeal. The Whigs finally nominated him on the 53rd ballot, marking him as their last national ticket candidate, campaigning on a platform of union preservation and moderate compromise. Scott's anti-slavery reputation, stemming from his enforcement of federal laws and humane policies, alienated Southern Whigs, contributed to his landslide defeat by Democrat Franklin Pierce. His views on unionism were uncompromising, rooted in a constitutional interpretation that prioritized national integrity over sectional interests. But in Virginia, he consistently subordinated regional ties to federal authority. His career, he opposed nullification as an assault on Union sovereignty, aligning with Whig nationalism, but viewed the federal government as the guarantor of domestic stability and economic progress. Right, I think we're getting an idea about this sort of person. Right, and advising Lincoln, those alternatives like the diplomatic phase, erring sisters depart in peace, framed as a tactical concession only if military enforcement proved untenable. On his Anaconda plan outlined a blockade and territorial encirclement to compel Confederate submission, underscoring his commitment to Union preservation through overwhelming federal power. Definitely the idea. Force is definitely seems to be something he aligns to. But I think there's a sign here that he's someone who wasn't effective in the political realm because he wasn't able to win over people who didn't already support his base, it seems to me. He couldn't pivot, as far as I can tell. Controversies and criticisms. Early insubordination, legal repercussions. He receives commission as a captain of light infantry. The growing tensions, sent on duty in New Orleans. The Army senior officer observed widespread. Scott observed um, widespread indiscipline, inadequate training, and what he perceived as Wilkinson's incompetent, self-serving leadership, later substantiated by Wilkinson's involvement in the Aaron Burr conspiracy and secret payments from central authorities. Scott's vocal dissatisfaction manifested in public criticisms of Wilkinson, including statements impugning the general's personal integrity and professional incompetence, which violated military decorum. These remarks pointed Wilkinson to the preferred charges of insubordination against Scott, compounded by a separate dispute. The court-martial convened in 1810, where Scott defended his actions as justified given Wilkinson's documented flaws, but the tribunal prioritized chain of command adherence. The court found Scott guilty of ungentlemanly and unofficer-like conduct, sentenced him to suspension of all rank, pay, and emoluments for 1 year, effectively halting his active service and income without formal dismissal. Suspension represented a significant early professional humiliation for the 23-year-old officer, reflecting the Army's emphasis on obedience amid its post-revolutionary reorganization of the 1802 Military Peace Establishment Act. Despite appeals highlighting Wilkinson's corruption, which included a courts-martial of his own that exposed graft, Secretary of War William Eustace upheld the verdict, underscoring institutional intolerance for public dissent from juniors. Scott complied, using enforced idleness at his family's Virginia state to self-educate in European military tactics, and translated works by authors such as Jacques Hippolyte, Kent Griebert, laying groundwork for his future advocacy of professional reforms. Reinstated, the episode did not preclude his rapid promotion to major that year as the output of more demanding experienced officers, but instilled a lasting caution in his public statements tempered by persistent reformist zeal. Yes, there is definitely a sense of the zealot to him, but a sense of seeing corruption, seeing problems, and then speaking out about it and getting himself into trouble, and not really handling how he's coming across to people. So coming across in almost a negative way, and therefore being court-martialed. He has an accusation of political ambition and administrative failures. So it makes some war disputes. Let's see this. Significant logistical challenges in his army's advance. These logistical strains, entwined with disputes with command authority, commenting on Scott's initiating courts martial its subordinate generals, perceived as insubordinate. Right, so he was quite quick to punish people, even though they actually weren't insubordinate. Mr. Major General William Worth for disobedience, specifically for failing to execute orders for reconnoiter and pursue Mexican forces aggressively towards Mexico City. Actually, Scott viewed as undermining operational momentum. Okay, interesting. I don't know what I'm saying there. I think Grok had a bit of a glitch there. Another general bypassed his chain of command, where Pillar's division faltered in assaulting entrenched positions. Corresponded directly with Marsden to claim undue credit for successes and criticized Scott's leadership, prompting Scott to arrest him for insubordination pending a general court martial. Polk intervened politically, commuting the proceedings against Pillow Worth to courts of inquiry rather than full courts martial, resulting in acquittals and mild reprimands that highlighted divisions between irregular army professionals Scott and volunteer officers like with Washington Connection. His actions, while aimed at enforcing discipline amid logistical pressures that heightened command frictions, fueled post-war Whig Democrat rivalries, with Scott's critics portraying the arrest as politically motivated suppressions of ambition rather than necessary military corrections. His political ambitions drew criticism from opponents who portrayed him as prioritizing personal advancement of military duty. As a prominent Whig, he sought the party's presidential nomination, but yielded to Zachary Taylor to secure it in 1852 amid perceptions that the military stature was leveraged for partisan gain. Essentially coming to Polk ordering Scott's court-martial in 1848 on 13 charges, the assumptions of unauthorized command and conduct prejudicial to good order with contemporaries, and announced linked to efforts to neutralize his political viability as a war hero. Scott was acquitted on most counts and received a nominal reprimand on lesser infractions, with a subsequent court of inquiry in 1856, clearing him of misconduct, underscoring the proceedings' partisan undertones rather than irrefutable evidence of malfeasance. Critics within the administration, influenced by subordinates like Gideon Pillow, amplified narratives of Scott's overreach to portray him as a quarrelsome and self-promoting, traits attributed to his lifelong pursuit of honors. This does sound like someone who is status-oriented, who is very inclined to use his status against others, who is at the same time not good at managing his image, which I think is the key issue here, despite being in it in the military for the long haul and being largely self-taught as well. Evaluations of strategic genius and career longevity. His strategic capabilities have been lauded by historians for their emphasis on discipline, maneuver, and logistics. Yes, I think logistics would make sense for someone like this. His adoption of European drill tactics enabled outnumbered American regulars to defeat British forces through superior training and bayonet charges. I say strategic. It sounds more tactical, logistical, I should say. In the Mexican-American War, he orchestrated his amphibious landing at Veracruz, approximately 8,500 troops, followed by an inland advance, overcoming numerical disadvantages via flanking maneuvers at Cerro Gordo and coordinated assaults at Contreras and Churubusco. Military analysts who is examining these operations for doctrinal insights regard this campaign as a precursor to American operational art, integrating naval support, engineering sustained supply lines against a hostile populace and terrain. Critics note limitations in his genius, such as reliance on conventional linear tactics suited to irregular warfare in earlier Seminole campaigns in the 1830s, where environmental factors stalled progress despite administrative efforts. His strategic foresight extended to peacetime innovations like standardizing infantry manuals, which professionalized U.S. Army and influenced officer education. Overall evaluations positioned Scott among the preeminent U.S. generals for adapting European methods to American contexts. His career longevity, encompassing 53 years of active service. This guy did not get bored and look to do something else. Marks the longest tenured U.S. general officer, holding brevet lieutenant general rank and serving as commanding general for 20 years. This endurance facilitated the army's growth through reforms, recruitment, pay, and infrastructure, yada, yada, yada. Historians attribute his protracted tenure to intellectual adaptability and bureaucratic acumen, enabling navigation of multiple administrations to describe chronic disputes with superiors. So yeah, Isaac, yeah, I'm thinking LSI for this guy. I am. Let's see what they have to say on YouTube. Maybe let's see it was like some quotes as well. I mean, look at that face. Peace won by compromise is usually a short-lived achievement. I think that kind of sums it up, doesn't it? Right. The enemy we say we are good at a long shot, but cannot stand the cold iron. I call them to give the lie to that slander charge. Brave rifles, veterans who've been baptized in fire and blood. Now come out, steel. Look at that face. Look at that face. My goodness gracious me. Okay. That is only certain types, I think, can have a face like that. I'm sorry. Come on. Winfield Scott Hancock does not seem to be the same person. Oh.
Major General Winfield Scott was a highly respected.
Oh no, I'm not doing one of these sort of automated things. No, thank you. It's all so brief, isn't it? Okay, let's listen to this. That sounds interesting.
Hey all, Ron here from Military Images Magazine with a new episode of Life on the Civil War Research Trail. Edward Davis Townsend, life dates 1817 to 1893, is not a Civil War general that comes immediately to mind, nor does his face he's pictured here. And yet, his name is peppered throughout government war records. In his role as Assistant Adjutant General in Washington, D.C., his familiar signature, E.D. Townsend, appears on countless orders and other missives preserved in the official records of the War of the Rebellion
Right.
and
Okay.
many other
Okay.
primary source documents. 61, when General of the U.S. Army Winfield Scott and Colonel Robert E. Lee met to consider Lee's future in the U.S. Army.
Oh.
Townsend was present and left a recollection of it in his 1884 Anecdotes of the Civil War in the United States.
Interesting.
There are two passages I want to share. The first is Townsend's recollection of a meeting between Scott and Lee. The second is an anecdote about the fate of Lee's home across the Potomac in Arlington. Townsend seems to suggest that had Lee remained loyal to the United States, his home and the surrounding property may not have been occupied by Union forces. The chapter is titled simply Robert E. Lee, Arlington Heights. So here we go. Robert E. Lee was colonel of the 2nd, now 5th Regiment, United States Cavalry, stationed in Texas. He had commanded that military department and, in April 1861, was on leave of absence. General Scott knew that he was at Arlington Heights at the house of his father-in-law, Mr. Custis, and one day asked me if I had seen or heard of him lately. I replied in the negative, except that he was on leave and at Arlington Heights. Said the general, it is time he should show his hand and, if he remains loyal, should take an important command. I then suggested that I should write a note to Lee and ask him to call at the general's headquarters. I wish you would, replied the general. The note was written, and the next day, April 19th, 1861, Colonel Lee came to the office. The general's was the front room of the 2nd story. His round table stood in the center of the room, and I had a desk in one corner. The aides were in an adjoining room with a door opening into the general's. When Lee came in, I was alone in the room with the general, and the door to the aides' room was closed. I quietly arose, keeping my eye on the general, for it seemed probable he might wish to be alone with Lee. He, however, secretly motioned me to keep my seat, and I sat down without Lee having a chance to notice that I had risen. The general, having invited Lee to be seated, the following conversation, as nearly as I can remember, took place. General Scott, you are at present on leave of absence, Colonel Lee? Colonel Lee, yes, General, I am staying with my family in Arlington. General Scott, these are times when every officer in the United States service should fully determine what course he will pursue and frankly declare it. No one should continue in the government employ without being actively engaged. No response from Lee. General Scott, after a pause, some of the Southern officers are resigning, possibly with the intention of taking part with their states. They make a fatal mistake. The contest may be long and severe, but eventually the issue must be in favor of the Union. Another pause and no reply from Lee. General Scott, seeing evidently that Lee showed no disposition to declare himself loyal or even a doubt, I suppose you will go with the rest. If you propose to resign it, it is proper you should do so at once. Your present attitude is an equivocal one. Colonel Lee, the general, The property belonging to my children, all they possess, lies in Virginia. They will be ruined if they do not go with their state. I cannot raise my hand against my children." The general then signified that he had nothing further to say, and Colonel Lee withdrew. The next day, April 20th, 1861, he tendered his resignation, and it was accepted the 25th. General Scott made no remark upon the subject, but he was evidently much grieved at thus parting with a man of whom he had been justly proud and for whom he had cherished the highest personal regard. He had no more devoted or efficient staff officer than Lee was in the Mexican War. It was probably near the same day as the interview with General Scott that the following incident, related to me by the late General Shiraz, occurred. Shiraz was in the office of Adjutant General Lorenzo Thomas when Colonel Lee came in there. Standing on the side of the table opposite where Thomas was sitting, Lee said, "General Thomas, I am told you have said I was a traitor." Thomas arose and, looking him in the eye, replied, "I have said yes. So, do you wish to know on what authority?" "Yes," said Lee. "Well, on the authority of General Scott." Lee muttered, "There must be some mistake," turned, and left the room. Now the passage continues with some commentary on Lee's home across the Potomac. Colonel Lee's family remained at their home, the Custis Mansion, Arlington Heights, for some time after. They would doubtless have been treated with respect by our people had they chosen to continue their residence there. The cause of their hasty departure was the intelligence that the Heights were to be occupied and fortified by the Union forces. On the evening of May 2nd, there was a conference at General Scott's headquarters in which the commander of the troops in Washington, General J.F.K. Mansfield, participated. The subject considered was the general defense of the city of Washington. Among the points discussed was the Heights of Arlington and whether it commanded the city. The next day, General Mansfield reported as follows: "We now come to the city and Georgetown and Arsenal, exposed to the Virginia shore. Here, I must remark that the President's house and
I'm
department..."
not finding this particularly informative, to be fair. Sorry to say. What else can we look at? Look at this. Doesn't give us much. We'll just
Winfield Scott was one of the greatest soldiers in United States history. I think there's no question about that. Unfortunately, he isn't often remembered that way now. He was a towering figure in the 19th century. His career extends from the War of 1812, when he was one of the soldiers pushing for a more professional United States Army, through the war with Mexico.
It's a very shapely mouth,
from
isn't it?
Veracruz to Mexico City was one of the great military operations in all of military history. The Duke of Wellington said Scott was the greatest soldier of the age because of what he did in Mexico, down to the early part of the Civil War when he was General-in-Chief of United States Armies. He was Lieutenant General by brevet, the rank that George Washington had had, and only George Washington had had as a regular rank. Winfield Scott, in the early stage of the Civil War, took a clear-eyed look at what kind of conflict it might be. He knew it would take longer. He knew it would take far more men, and he had a great sense of knowing that just because you
Sense
put
of logistics.
someone doesn't make them a soldier. Someone with a uniform on is someone with a uniform on, unless they've been trained and turned into a soldier. And so he argued for taking your time to prepare. He put forward what came to be called the
What an
Anaconda Plan,
impatient man.
which is essentially how the United States waged the Civil War in broad outline. Blockade the Confederate coasts, deny them material that they would be bringing in from abroad, take control of the Mississippi River to divide the Confederacy into two pieces, and if necessary, if those two things were not enough, project United States military power deep into the hinterlands of the Confederacy. That's essentially the strategy the United States had used during the war with Mexico. blockading the Gulf Coast of Mexico, severing the northern provinces from the rest of Mexico, and then striking toward the capital of the Mexican Republic in the end. He had a good sense of how these kinds of wars would play out. He had that sense from the War of 1812 as well, when the British Navy had complete
Suggests he
control
has
over the American
a
coastline.
good
He
logistical
understood
sense and some
George
degree of
Jefferson
development in
understood
terms of how things
if
will
you
then
could
develop
go
from
back, you
there.
could project your military power wherever you wanted to, whether into the Chesapeake or toward New
So we've got a
Orleans.
good mix of
later,
introvert sensation,
war
extrovert sensation, and
or
some introvert sensation.
Civil War context or anywhere along the Atlantic coast. Winfield Scott was a major American thinker of the mid-19th century, one of the most influential soldiers in all of our history, and a figure who literally ties the early 19th century military history of the United States to the mid-19th century history, military history of the United States with the Civil War, a colossal figure. Scott was very old when the war broke out. He was in his mid-70s, and he was physically a wreck. He'd led a good life and had eaten and drunk a great deal, and he was sort of a mass of decaying flesh by 1861, although his mind was still very sharp. Lincoln listened to him and took his advice, but he had a pushy younger officer who came on the scene, George B. McClellan, who didn't really respect Scott and was very much on the way up. And in the end, I think Scott had had his belly full of any kind of bickering and decided to retire and go to West Point and write his memoirs. He left as general-in-chief in the autumn of 1861. George B. McClellan replaced him. Scott certainly wasn't up to field command by the time the Civil War came, but he had played a very useful part early on, and he sort of edged out, partly edged out and partly just understood that it was time to go for a person in his mid-70s, and he had time to write his memoirs. He wrote his 2-volume memoirs while he was at West Point in the third person, which is very interesting. Then General Scott, then Colonel Scott did this. They're sort of fun. You can see his ego coming through them. But he had a reason to have an ego. He was a man of considerable accomplishment.
I think he was most likely an LSI. Could it be SLE? Less likely, but definitely beta STR. I think most likely LSI. So yeah, thank you for that one, Isaac. Greatly appreciated. Let's move on to Intrion's suggestion, Matthew Mercer. Now, the reason Intrion's not making a super chat is that I actually owe him a few typings. So yeah, I'm going to do Matthew Mercer. If anyone else is watching, please, if you want me to type someone, you have to make a super chat of at least $20. Just mention the name of the person you want me to look at in your super chat, and I will then look at that person for you and see if I can work out their type. So if anyone's watching who wants me to do that, please do that. Ideally before I finish my looking at Matthew Mercer. All right, Matthew Mercer it is. Let's take a look. American voice actor and game designer. Yeah, I think that's not too surprising that you'll find a lot of beta STs congregating around the military. I mean, we're talking about Civil War figures. We're talking about military figures predominantly. If you were talking about someone during the Civil War who wasn't a military figure, maybe it's a different matter. But because they're military, more likely to find people who pursue that sort of command structure, I would say. But yeah, let's look at Matthew Mercer now. Okay, American voice actor and game designer. Let's take a look. A voice-over artist in video games animation since 2002. Born in Palm Beach Gardens, of primarily Scottish descent. His family moved to Los Angeles when he was 8 years old. His father was a musician. He spoke with stutter when he was young, leaving his father, who also has to be a speech therapist, managed to reduce the efforts to the point that only certain words trigger it. He adopted Mercer, which members of the family used in the past. This stage certainly because Mercer's name was too similar to one already represented by SAGFTRA. He had a stint as a member of the Groundlings, whatever the Groundlings are. It's an American improvisational and sketch comedy troupe and school based in Los Angeles. That's pretty cool. He was born Matthew Christopher Miller. Right, okay. His advisor gets moved into theatre, so he initially considered working in animation. He's dissuaded by advice from professional animators about the working conditions in that field, however, and joined the games industry instead. In his early career, he worked as a QA tester and later associate producer on a number of edutainment titles developed by Sound Source Interactive and TDK Media Active. After friends of his father got into some odd jobs in voiceover, he decided to pursue the profession and resigned from his game development job. He began his voice acting career performing English Walla and additional characters in several Japanese. What is Walla? Is a sound effect imitating the murmur of a crowd in the background. A group of actors brought together in the post-production stage of film production to create this murmur is known as a Walla group. I'd never heard of that. Goodness gracious me, you learn something new every day. He served as a dungeon master for Foursquare Giant Hunters, who ran for 2 seasons. He was the dungeon master of Nerdist show Celebrity D&D, which puts D&D playing celebrities into a small mini campaign. He directed produced both There Will Be Brawl, based on Super Smash Brothers game series, where he provided voices from both Meta Knight and Kirby, and portrayed the role of Ganondorf. Interesting. Whilst he is heterosexual, he has also been attracted to men in the past and experienced homophobia or to grow up as a boy or to experiment with an androgynous appearance. Okay. Dating voice actress, critical role star. Ray, they were engaged in 2006 before marrying on 2017. The video's proposal became popular among fans involved in an escape room game he secretly created with a critical role cast as a prize for Ray. Okay. Right, I think we need to look at this person on YouTube. Let's take a look. Let's see.
Hi, this is Matthew Mercer, and this is my last meal.
Is it going to tell us very much about him?
This has exactly 2 things in common. We all gotta eat and we're all gonna die. Today's guest is the voice behind some of your favorite characters from animation and video games.
I guess it's last for now, so I guess it does have
his new animated series, The
view
Mini
into him,
Island, is out
maybe.
on video, but his first true love was illustration because he started quite the small business in middle school. Matthew Mercer, welcome to
Okay,
the
this could be quite good.
Hey, so happy to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
Of course, tell me about this little cottage industry you started in middle school. You were drawing comic book characters.
We're going right to it with this.
On commission. No, I'm fascinated by the entrepreneurial spirit.
So yeah, okay, understood. Like I as a child, I loved to draw. I had a bunch of sketchbooks. It was very much kind of my youth's main hobby was drawing and sketching, and I love comics and creatures and monsters, and you also don't have a lot of ways of making money when you're a kid.
Sure.
So when I was in middle school, this is pre-internet, in which adult materials were far more difficult to acquire. So there was a lot of interest from a lot of young kids that I went to school with to pay me to draw them my opinion of what a naked body would look like.
Now, when you say your opinion of what a naked body would look like, some would say there's an objective fact of what they look like, but you just sort of had to make it up in your own mind.
Parts of it, yes. You know, being a young boy who also didn't have access to any of these things, like I could kind of glean the overall structure, but when it came to details, I had to kind of fill in the gaps, if you will.
The gaps, leave some of the gaps empty. Try and figure out where the gaps were.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah, it was very much like everything from like Chun-Li to Wolverine to like pretty much most of the X-Men. I drew a lot of characters naked.
It was mostly X-Men, it sounds like.
A lot of it, yeah, because I mean, me and my friends were heavily into Marvel Comics at that time, and both from across the whole gender spectrum, really. So yeah, I learned a lot about anatomy through trial and error.
That's so beautiful. I can't wait to see what Wolverine looks like down there.
I think there were a few different interpretations.
Is it retractable?
Well, I would hope so. Otherwise, he should get that looked at by his
That's a
doctor.
fair point. That's a fair point.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining me on Last Meals. This is the general tone of the show. Welcome.
I love it. No, wait, just to break break it wide open. Right?
Absolutely. Have you thought about your last meal before?
For me, like when the opportunity comes, like, what is last meal? Is it just something that's delicious? It's like, no. What's something that to me is almost like a culmination of memories.
Interviewer seems a bit of an obvious IE, I should say.
I was like, what would I want to eat? And part of that process of eating it would kind of revisit important things from my life.
Yeah, I think that's like a real craftsman storyteller's way of approaching this, which is like obviously very befitting of your character, and I really appreciate that. Did any of those memories that were brought up from the dishes you chose surprise you?
Yeah, there were a lot of things I wrote down and then just got rid of them because I was like, this is delicious, but it doesn't have like a deep personal resonance. And so, yeah, I ended up just kind of picking the ones that really kind of meant something to me. There are a couple in there that are just really delicious, but have a little bit of
Sure.
a little bit of resonance. But yeah, I just kind of, I guess, if you're gonna have a last meal, let it bring you through your own journey in a way.
Yeah.
So kind of an autobiographical meal, I guess.
No, I think not. I guess I think exactly that. Yeah.
So that was my inspiration.
I can't wait to eat your memories.
I will quote you on that for a long time. What a wonderful like antagonist line in a horror film. I can't believe
Yes.
your memories.
And I would only want you to voice that character.
If we come around to it, I'll give you co-production credits.
Perfect. Well, at least let me PA. How often do you think about death in general?
Not terribly often. It's hard not to consider mortality as a mortal.
Yeah. You said as a mortal as if there was an opportunity for you to not be immortal, as if you sort of chose that,
Quitter talk if you give in to that too
Fair
early.
point.
No, it's interesting. I've come in recent years to understand that I don't think I fear death. If anything, it's what makes a lot of things beautiful. I don't want it to happen sooner than I'm ready, of course, but like I don't have a lot of existential dread 3 a.m. in the darkness moments these days. I had those when I was younger a little bit, but I've kind of come to terms with it a little bit.
Do you think like part of that is wisdom? Like as you get older, you sort of understand almost cosmically that death is really the only thing giving life context?
Wisdom could be a word for it. I could also very well be just ignorance. It could be
Tired too.
Yeah,
Yeah. When
yeah,
you have
just
more energy, you can think about death.
Yeah, I don't have the bandwidth for death anymore. I think about it more in like the metaphysical context of trying to.
This guy doesn't
trying to figure
take
out
himself
what
too
is
seriously.
My stand.
It's quite clear.
It's less about. I'm
Easygoing.
More like, what's a fun theory that could be beyond this?
Yeah.
What's another fun theory? What researching.
This guy also doesn't just
studying
give a
death
straightforward
studying
answer. He goes into
nature,
thinking
how
about
much
it
is
quite a lot.
How much is shared? Kind of through those shared spaces, there's a lot of really fascinating philosophies that I think are beautiful means of continuation from generation to generation. But also, I have a love of physics, astrophysics, quantum physics.
Yeah.
And the more you look into quantum physics, the weirder it gets. The
Broad
more it
range of
starts
interests.
dispelling my fear of oblivion to a
But
degree.
also some of those broad range of interests who has chosen to go into a film where he gets to perform.
All right, Matthew, for the first course of your final meal, we have a Caesar salad, classic romaine, anchovy, egg yolk, and Dijon dressing, fresh shaved Parmesan, and homemade croutons on top. And then we have the Southern style chicken and dumplings. You have the biscuit dough on top of just like your classic chicken pot pie filling, a little bit of rosemary and thyme in there. And then we have an old fashioned. This is actually made with overproof rye. This is my favorite way to do it. A little bit of Angostura bitters, and then of course fresh orange. That's not there.
Thank you.
Cheers, man.
My goodness.
Wait, what a way to wake up.
I'm about to say, like, which ways to start your day? Oh,
Can I dish you some dumplings?
please do. I'm so excited.
Tell me about the dumplings. How did this make it on the last meals menu?
I come from a southern family, a lot of family from the Carolinas, Georgia, Florida. which is where I originally grew up as a young kid. And chicken and dumplings is just a classic kind of comfort meal, but it's specifically comfort in my family because whenever I was sick as a kid, my mom would make me either chicken and rice or chicken and dumplings. And I was actually deciding between those two. It was just, I had this like, this memory of feeling protected, of feeling warm, of recovering and being with family.
Each of the sensation values going through.
Years later, when me and my wife Marisha started dating, she's from Kentucky. Early in our relationship, wanted to cook and said, "I'm going to make you my esteemed chicken and dumplings." And it was one of those like, "Oh my God, I love you even more because you make one of the best other meals." And then her version was unique but close in the flavor and texture palette to what I grew up with. And so now it's almost like bookended between my mom who raised me and now my partner who shows that as a way of sharing her love of culinary arts and cooking with me and friends as well. And so to me it just kind of felt like a good bookend of the woman who was most important in my younger part of my life and the woman who's now most important in my life going forward. So it had that kind of personal significance, and it's just delicious.
So, man, that was beautiful. And when you were sick as a child, your mother.
His idea of personal meaning here is the meal that my mother and my wife both cook for me with the air of overlap.
Until I was mid-20s or so, my with and I think I've talked a few things. My father, who I love to death, he's a wonderful person, but he's had his challenges with alcohol and addiction and stuff like that. And so he's clean now for quite some time. But because of that, I didn't drink for a long time because I was afraid that I would kind of be subject to the same predilections.
Yeah, of course.
It wasn't until I started dating my wife Marisha, but she's from Kentucky, and bourbon is a very big thing. And so she loved wine, she loved bourbon and whiskey, and I didn't really care for either.
Yeah.
And she went, "We're going to change that." And so Old Fashions was one of those drinks that kind of initially taught me, like, oh, there's so many different unique flavor profiles that can pair with whiskey and bourbon that can completely change the mood and the feel and the taste of what you can enjoy whiskey for. And so the Old Fashioned has since become like a staple of my relaxation, to like before getting on a plane or when I get home after a long day at the end of the week. It's generally.
It's funny that his wife is the one who is taking the initiative in this.
And of course, a lot of it like centering around Marisha.
Comes from Marisha, comes from his mother. He's not the driver of this.
Did you feel pressure to order a salad because you thought you should?
To bring back to the story, my dad made the most incredible Caesar salad growing up. This is a lot of family stories here. I'm sorry. This is perfect. I mean, especially seeing like why it's important to you. This is awesome. My dad very much was like the culinary king of the kitchen. It would make like the tri-tip steaks and the grill master, and but the Caesar salad was something that he was renowned for within our not just our family circles, but eventually expanding friend circles. His dressing was so unique and delicious that friends would ask him to make batches to host his Caesar salad at their parties. When we first moved to LA, we were a bunch of bumpkins out of Florida, and we'd have people who would hear about his Caesar salad and be like, "Hey, we'll pay you to make a large batch and go, prepare it at this big party where up in the Hollywood Hills or somewhere." And people would come out like, "This is the best Caesar I've ever had in my life."
Is your dad Ken of Ken's Caesar salad dressing?
He is not.
Damn it.
Not. He is a wonderful, and I say this with absolute hippie ass musician in Hawaii. I love him so much. But his Caesar salad to this day is such an incredible thing, and it's just touched many lives, myself included.
I need to try your father's Caesar salad dressing. I need to see what is. I want to try and decode it. Has he told you the secret ingredient to it? Or is that going to be a thing where like he's on his deathbed? And it's like my son.
I've asked, and he's tried, but like I asked him, "Could you write it down for the sake of like lineage and legacy?" And he goes, "It's just kind of a vibes thing." I'm like, "Well."
You did say hippie ass musician in Hawaii. That makes sense. Yeah.
But no, he'll be out here for the holidays, so maybe I'll see if I can make an extra large batch, and then I'll just have to bring it back to the studio.
I would
Well, as it do McLennan next time. I would like that.
I'm gonna take you up on that.
Digging into the dumplings, I don't know if you believe in the butterfly effect, but there's a world in which if Burt Reynolds never exists, then you were never born. How does Burt Reynolds factor so much into your existence?
Part of the reason we're even here in LA is through that weird pipeline. I would probably
We actually get most of our guests.
It's a lot like Jonathan Ross.
And it's a strong pipeline, and I'm thankful for it. No, yeah, my grandmother met him many years ago. I think she was working real estate in Florida, and he was like getting his Florida ranch set up in like the 70s and 80s, and he just liked her energy, I guess, like, and hired her on to begin like assisting in parts of production. And so she went from just being a Carolina woman with a strong motherly opinion. She's been in many cases in her life a single mother through her 6 marriages. She's a badass. She was a badass. And so it was through her working through happenstance with Burt Reynolds through that meeting to then become a part of his production company, and then was like a executive producer on his show Evening Shade back in the early 90s. And so she was like the cool grandma who lived out here in LA and had like a Corvette. And so we'd come out and visit her, and eventually she helped my mom get a script opportunity, and then we all moved out to LA so that she could pursue writing as a career. And so that was our impetus as a family when I was like 7, turning 8.
Yeah.
To go from Florida, to escape Florida, because you don't move out of Florida, you escape Florida.
It's a fair point. Yeah.
To come out to LA.
I heard after Escape from New York and Escape from LA, they tried to make Escape from Florida, but they're still shooting.
Yeah,
Aaron Russell's just still there. He's like, oh, I got to Tallahassee.
It's
Not
hard
nowhere to go.
It's hard to get out of there.
There's also a tie-in with Burt Reynolds.
See if there's anything else we can see.
Dragons in your family. Campaign 1 of Critical.
See a bit of his voices or not.
Who do you think's covering up the battle?
Listen, the only thing across that ocean is Murska Air Base. That's Yuktobanian territory.
But haven't we been allies with the Ukes since the war 15 years ago?
Do that to stand before the legions of death and survive. This world will burn with the Master's return.
He's got quite a few voices.
They say it's when he went to find Gala, along with the airship, he is so close to completing it. Dad, could I be in that same land? If that's
30 minutes of this.
This is Oolong. I have a purse snatcher in custody.
If you insist.
Seriously? I won't repeat myself.
Okay.
The top curls back down. You see a singular, angry, burning eye in the middle of its face as its jaw kind of splits open. Sound strikes the air, and your ears feel like they're about to burst for a moment. I need you all to roll initiative.
What the is that?
Robert, you angrily grab the front of its head and peel back the skin, grab the base of the skull, and just like.
Oh, that's quite a sound effect.
Its jaw is kind of. Oh, she gets her arrow out, and you see her aiming downward as it falls. As she releases the arrow, it manages to catch it. Go ahead and roll for attack.
Okay.
See how well it did.
Oh, that's good. 30? Oh,
God.
no, wait, 28. I always love that sound.
Fire again.
I just think of those little door things.
Yeah.
I was just a kid.
It's the bigger blades. Like,
Yeah.
looks like it's about to, and it's like it reaches back and flings the axe out of the side of the kind of sling that's hanging outside of the belt, and it sticks in the ground right at the base of your feet, Imogen. With this like open chest, this like storage chest on the side. Things are
Okay,
like falling out.
okay.
Ding, 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 ding.
What's this?
Should the conversation be honest, you might have a decent chance to wait till 3 a.m. How hurt are you?
How what?
How hurt are you?
How hurt?
No, how hurt?
Nine to the court. How are you right now?
God.
I hate you also. Okay, you're not terrible.
She's gone red in the face.
I start shivering.
Oh my god, I don't even know what you are, but you're adorable. Oh my god. My guns! My guns!
My cunts?
Micah. I heard my cunt. Aging my cunt. Is my cunt here?
All NPCs are now named David. From here on out. You're right.
Right. Okay. Okay. So it was he clearly enjoys this aspect of performance, of designing games and having and leading people through that. That sort of thing is something he really, really enjoys. I'd be very surprised if he weren't an alpha type, to be honest. And from the sound of it, introverted sensation seems to be something he values, but it seems to be something he allows other people to play more of an active role in compared to him. And he seems to have quite a broad range of interests. So on the basis of that, I'm inclined towards Iley, but I'm not 100% yet. Could he be ESC? Potentially. See any other interviews. Mhm.
4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tap with Jason, the podcast I haven't done in 6 months. I'm not gonna lie, because no one was joining. But now we have an incredible guest here with us today, the dungeon master behind Critical Role, the master of the flowing long hair, the intrepid, the incredible, the talented Mark Mercer. Thank you so much for coming to the show, Marcus. I really appreciate you being here.
Happy to be here, represent all the underrepresented marks in the world.
Yes, indeed. It is very important. I had a whole bit where I have a fake birth certificate that says Mark Mercer on it, but you can't see me, so it's not funny anymore.
That's okay. The idea's done.
Yeah, they can see me though. You guys got it. But anyway, thank you so much for being here. At first, I was really nervous because I didn't really know what I would talk to you about before Campaign 4. But recently, during your live show, you guys made a pretty huge announcement about the future of Critical Role, and that is that, sir, you will not be DMing this new campaign.
Yeah, I get to play. I'm really, really, really excited.
I'm sure many of us are very excited to see you play because
It's all Mark Mercer thing.
Great there, and obviously Brennan is also an incredible dungeon master and a very worthy choice.
There's nobody else I would have entrusted this to on the scale of what this is. Maybe like entrusted to, but he's the person I'm like, you got this. I won't be stressing out too much. We've already collaborated on a number of things together, and we collaborate so well that it just feels like a natural shift. And yeah, we've been talking about it for a long time, and I'm glad we finally got to tell you all. We've been cooking on this for a minute.
That actually brings me to a few of my questions. Number one, obviously, it's no secret why you'd pick Brennan. Very talented DM. You guys are clearly close outside of the game.
But was there anyone else that you had like in your head for who could take over the show, just in case like Brendan couldn't do it? Did you have any alternate picks?
We have many people actually, and many people that we will continue to work with in future things as well. I don't want to say any names in particular because we have wonderful people that we have worked with in the past and many people that we look forward to working with in the future. So like, and I don't want anyone to ever feel like, I was almost there, or any sort of what could be conceived.
Matt Mercer's not gonna spill the tea on our tea podcast, guys. I'm really sorry, y'all. I tried.
I know, no, and I respect the attempt, but no, like it was. We have a lot of people that we have a chance to bring in and collaborate with, and small scale things that we kind of then hold on to in our repertoire of people that we get to collaborate with in the future. And a lot of this was born out of the 10-year milestone coming up, having done this near weekly for 10 years, and the scale of all the responsibilities as they've grown in the years since we started this, juggling what it pretty much amounts to 3 full-time jobs now, can be draining, but also 10 years is a good moment to take a step back and let somebody else who's been chomping at the bit to dive into this scale of world building. And Brendan has been one of those people for a long time. We've had many conversations of this is his jam, and him wanting the opportunity to create and build something. We have many discussions about, do we keep Exandria, but more like, I don't know, I wanted to let him off the leash. If you
Do whatever.
Yeah, like to offer him that freedom and support to more or less take the baton and run with it in all the ways that he's been wanting to in his imagination for a while. And we happen to have the platform, scope, and community that wants exactly that, has for 10 years. So very, very, very proud, very excited, and very, very eager for us to be able to show more very soon.
Oh yeah, I'm excited too. I wanted you sort of answered this question already, but I also wanted to ask, like, what were the pieces of decision making that led you to making this choice to step back from the DMing chair? I mean, obviously, working essentially 3 full-time jobs is a pretty compelling first reason.
I mean, a lot of reasons. That being one, just kind of general.
She just takes on too much, basically.
It felt like a good moment to take a break from that scale and scope of perpetual expectation. There's an element of creative work that people who work in creative fields can attest to, that it isn't just continuous output. It's not possible. You need to ruminate. You need to absorb. You need to find inspiration and tinker and consider, iterate, and walk away and then come back. It's a very amorphous process. And I realized over time that due to the demands of what had grown out of this, whether we expected it or not, it becomes a continuous need to produce creatively.
Right.
And in multiple avenues now. And that can be a very draining and very scary thing. So I think it never reached the point of burnout, but there was definitely a threat on the horizon, if that makes sense. And having a lot of creative things that I wanted to give more attention to, that I wasn't allowed that bandwidth. And 10 years of straight storytelling, you reach a point where you're like, I need to settle, let the inspiration come to me again.
He's not a person with sort of almost limitless energy, like an ESC, it sounds like. They can take off a bit too much that you can actually chew.
So like, that sounds more dire than it was. Like it was just more of like a natural point of, I could use a break,
I mean,
and
you've been doing this for 10 years.
Like, that's a long time.
That's a lot. Dude, to put in perspective, you started Critical Role when I was in like 8th grade. I've gone through high school, I went through college, I graduated, all the while listening to Critical Role for 10 years.
Oh, I don't feel so good, Mr. Stark.
You're old, man.
I'm going to nationality. The ancient Mercer.
I was saying, like, yeah, it's been a while. It's been it's been a minute, and I'm never gonna stop doing this. You know, I love this too much, but you know, I also have to be conscious of my own well-being and mental health to make sure that I'm not just doing the work because it demands of me creatively and really doing things from a point of being inspired and excited for it. And I think 10 years was a good beat to take to be like, okay, I'm proud of our 3 campaigns. I'm constantly iterating and building Alexandria in my head. This would be a good moment for me to kind of step back and let it simmer and let it develop naturally. And, you know, give somebody else that I genuinely respect, care about, and am excited to.
Okay, I'm going to look at something else. I'll look at that in just a bit. I want to see this. No, where was it? Maybe this one. And it's one I wanted to see. Yes.
Matthew Mercer is one of the kindest people I've ever known in my career, and we sat down to talk about his life philosophy, about hard work, and about legacy.
We're a bunch of dumbass actors, you know.
Yeah, but you all work very hard. You're all super nice,
Typical
lovely,
alpha response.
things, but you also work incredibly hard, and you make things look easy, and you never make it look like it's hard. I'm very aware of this.
I appreciate.
You have no one behind the scenes saying, "Dude."
Fair. Why don't we do? We have each other saying that all the time.
Yeah.
This is.
But not
a lot.
on camera.
No, not fair. But that's actually a valid point. I think we're all very hard workers, and I say Austin, like everyone at the team, we do a lot because this is an absurd journey. You know, it is not lost on us how rare this path is in entertainment. Period. And so we take that responsibility very seriously. And that means, one, being very meticulous with the opportunities we do seize, and two, seeing through the opportunities that we do seize with as much passion and wherewithal to bring it to its highest possible form as we can. And that means we're not unfamiliar to the 60, 70, sometimes 80-hour weeks, you know, if that's what's necessary. But we're also doing it with our friends, and we get to fall back on each other, and we get to support each other, and we're so excited for what we're doing that it makes it so tremendously worthwhile, even in the hardest of times. And a lot of it, once again, like, so much of it is wanting to make our community proud, you know? Like, I'm excited to have a cartoon and watch it. That's neat. But I'm so much more excited for us to give it to the people that help make it happen and continue to, like, support us in this
Very
chaos. You know, it's not just
It's
escapism. It's we draw
giving
inspiration
to the universe, giving to everyone.
We see ourselves in characters and narratives that cause us to reflect on ourselves and the kind of person we hope to become and continue to work towards becoming. That's the whole purpose of stories. And, you know, whether it be the table rolling dice or through a cartoon medium, it's still the same intent and the hope of sharing stories with each other and inspiring each other. And, you know, sorry to go on a kind of a philosophical tangent there, but like,
no, I like this part of you actually probably the most of all, because I love making new characters. I'm obsessed with it, and one of the ways I love to do that is through HeroForge.com.
No, skip the ad.
Often, and maybe I'm not thinking of a really good head on your shoulder. Like, things can be chaotic, but like, you are a rock, it seems to me. And maybe I'm not saying it.
No,
I don't know you that well.
No. You're not wrong. I think I've had to learn, not to get real here, but I had to learn at a young age to become the adult.
Yeah.
You know, and I've kind of often often fallen into the role of caretaker and therapist to many friends and people I care about through a lot of my adult life.
Yeah.
And so I'm very used to being that rock because other people need a rock.
Yeah.
The downside is it doesn't allow me the opportunity to fall apart sometimes when I probably should be allowed to. And I'm getting better. I should probably get back in the third. But that's not a bad thing either necessarily. Like I am focusing more on self-care and trying to be more of that. But it's easier to be the rock when you're not alone and when you really
He's so Californian.
and so many people put so much faith into us. How can we not take that momentum and use that to fall on as well? You know, that's what keeps us held up at the hardest of times. It's a weird, perfect balance for this weird, unexpected path that the 8 of us have sheltered these years and still continue to do things that we're proud of and excited for. And in those times, made more friends and brought more people in and let them run and shine. And it's just been terrifying in a lot of ways, but fulfilling in a way that I can't even express how grateful I am.
This is a bit boring. Let's see what else there is.
I'm pretty sure not all of you are going to make it to the end.
Oh,
Yeah, which one of us is gonna die?
a long enough timeline.
You, Sam. It's always you.
Oh, she's tense, but she's right.
Glory to the Vale gods. I will not disappoint you this journey.
You and Belk are gonna get along really well.
You suddenly hear.
Wait. Nature is better by 1/16. Oh,
16.
Nope, 17.
17. Should the conversation be honest, you might have a decent chance to wait till 3 a.m. How hurt are you?
How what?
How hurt are you?
Are you?
How hurt? Yeah, how hurt? How hurt?
Nine hit points.
Gonna his turn, such a fella. Right. Okay, seems ready.
Vitality. And there nothing remains but a tiny little speck of vitality.
Wait.
No.
Each roll initiative. This episode is also sponsored by our friends at Ghostfire Gaming and the brand new 5e post-apocalyptic setting, Aurora. Aurora. There we go. My brain just shut down there.
Right. Okay. And that's not particularly interesting to watch. That's the best thing. Right.
Okay, judging by your face, it's definitely
No,
not
I'm
correct.
keeping it neutral here. What do you?
You are not keeping it neutral. Hey, GQ. I'm Marisha Ray.
And I'm Matthew Mercer.
And this is the GQ Couples Quiz.
Oh boy. Marisha,
Yes.
what would be my profession had I not gotten into acting?
You wanted to be an animator for cartoons. And you almost went to college for animation. And then you talked to an animator over at Disney.
If there were
And they were like, if you love art and you don't want to stop loving art, maybe don't do this.
that person had a very rough experience, I think, at the time. All right, so I'll definitely give you the point for that.
Yeah.
Good memory on
Amazing.
that one.
Off to a good start.
Yep.
Let's hope I don't fuck it up.
I'm sure you're fine. Marisha,
Yes.
what would you consider to be my most surprising non-D&D hobby?
That's a good question. You're a very dedicated, like when we have costumes or cosplay that we're doing, or like Halloween episodes or something, you're insanely dedicated to the accuracy. So there's that.
So cosplay, costume.
Cosplay, yeah, costume building.
That is the point. That is the point. Over 15, 16 years ago, I did a Sephiroth costume in Final Fantasy VII, having children specifically, that I poured my whole costume suit into, and I was real proud of that one.
Costume, is that your costume pussy?
Yes, it is. I do not retract that statement. Now, on to the next question.
Okay.
Enough of me. Marisha, what is my favorite genre of horror?
What is your favorite genre of horror?
Yes.
I'm going to say cosmic horror.
Cosmic horror is pretty close. I'll give you a half point for that. Occult horror.
Occult horror.
Yeah.
That's fair, I guess.
Yeah. Marisha, what was my first job ever?
I believe your first job ever. This is a good question. I should have written this down. Maybe I'll just randomly put with
It's
it.
interesting that
Your first job.
Cosmic is nearly there, and Occult is like the top one for him.
Is that your first job? No. Wait. No. Wait. You were a video game tester.
That is correct. Say it yourself. I was a video game tester, and then I was a barista at a Barnes & Noble cafe.
Okay.
And then went back to game testing, and yeah. Good job. You caught yourself there.
I did.
That's another point. What food do I hate?
Tomatoes.
Yeah. Straight out of the gate. Raw tomatoes.
Raw tomatoes.
Like
We
tomato
actually.
sauces. Once it's been destroyed, tomatoes been pulverized and punished for its evil ways, then I can enjoy it. But like a raw tomato, it's like eating a shitty jellyfish.
Well, I
It's
guess
not physical stuff, really. It's otherworldly stuff.
The house without.
I feel like this is supposed to be something. I mean, is it? Is this a trick question?
I don't know.
Your wedding band.
That is true. That is actually genuinely true.
Gaming the system.
I would also accept it to my wallet on my phone.
Well,
Marisha, what was my favorite trip that we've taken together?
it's just another trick question where you're trying to be cute, and it's like our honeymoon. Or something else. Our honeymoon was pretty great. Obviously a great one. Our trip to Ireland was great. Scotland was also great. Yeah, I'll say our honeymoon.
That is correct. Outside of the obvious reasons, of course, it was just great that we did a trek through Thailand to Malaysia to Singapore. Just
Well, Southeast Asia.
Yeah. We planned our trip by watching Anthony Bourdain, which is a good way to
Yeah.
any trip, I think.
Just wanted to go. Tell me where the food is good, Anthony Bourdain.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
I got the point. What's the emoji that I
Yeah,
use?
she brings the food.
I don't know. You're not like a big emoji guy.
Not in the not in the modern sense, maybe. Emoji's a term that's been around for a while.
Okay, are we tapping into some like early 2000 shit where we're also talking about like emoticons? Because you do less than 3 a lot. And I feel like you still do less than 3 a lot. Does that count as an emoji?
The term
These
emoji
days?
is encompassing for a long time. Is
I'll
true?
take that. Less than 3.
You get a point.
Hey!
Less than 3 heart is something that I cannot shake.
Yeah, from AIM chat rooms.
Yeah. What video game do I come back to the most often?
You've gone back to a lot of the Soulsborne games. Yeah, probably like Dark Souls, the Demon Souls.
I'll take
Which one came
a point
first?
for the series. I'll take a point for the series.
series.
Yeah, the Dark Souls series definitely I've been back to the most. Initially, the Dark Souls 2.
Dark
Why?
Souls 2. Okay.
That was the one that I had a lot more free time and obsessed over, and then go back to it. And the Elden Ring's kind of fighting for Bloodborne 2. Look, it's a thing. Anyway,
Yeah.
next question. Marisha,
Yes.
what is my favorite book?
House of Leaves.
You get a point.
House of Leaves.
That was a tricky one because there's a lot of books that have influenced me directly, and some of them are going to feel obvious on the surface. But House of Leaves is the book that I've gone back to a number of times, and it's kind of really adjusted my perspective on presenting a story.
Yeah, in genre and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
was hoping you'd get that one.
I need to pick it back up again.
Marisha,
Yes,
I can say your name before each one to make it official.
I love it.
What musical artist?
Hang on a second. What is House of Leaves? Right. So it's a bestseller. It's written as a work of epistolary fiction and metafiction, focusing on a fictional documentary film titled The Navidson Record. Presented as a story within a story discussed in a handwritten monograph recovered by the primary narrator Johnny Truant. The narrative makes heavy use of multi-perspectivity as Truant's footnotes chronicle his efforts to transcribe the manuscript, which itself reveals a Navidson Record's supposed narrative through transcriptions and analysis, depicting a story of a family who discovers a large on the inside labyrinth in their house. That sounds very complex. House of Leaves maintains an academic publishing format throughout with exhibits, appendices, and an index, as well as numerous footholds, including citations for non-existent works, interjections from the narrator, and notes from the editors to whom he supposedly sent the work for publication. It is also distinguished by convoluted page layouts. Some pages contain only a few words or lines of text, arranged to mirror the events in the story, often creating both an agoraphobic and a claustrophobic effect. At points, the book must be rotated to be read, making a prime example of ergodic literature. This person is an ILE, not an ESC, on the basis of that. This is the book that is not about introverted sensation. It is the book that plays around with concepts in multiple ways, not just in its writing, but in how it's put together. And in doing so, it is a book that is intellectually derived, that is very much about the extrovert intuition, at the expense, especially needing to rotate the book to read it, of introverted sensation. House of Leaves redefined modern horror, citing its influence in the found footage film genre. The publication of the book was a subject of frequent online discussion, like serves as a source of inspiration. The Blair Witch Project. So this is one of the primary inspirations for My House.wad, a Doom 2 mod, or rather a house that is constantly shifting and changing in unsettling ways, including use of impossible spaces. Interesting. The book that lies to you, House of Leaves explains.
I do a lot of videos on video games, and I do video essays on the games that I play. And I found my group late last year with some Fear and Hunger content, and I really appreciate all the support I've gotten from those videos. Fear and Hunger is quite a unique horror game, and the reason I did a video essay on it is because it was such a uniquely horrific experience, and rarely anything gets me motivated to make a good video essay unless it's something truly special. Which brings me to this video. I know I don't seem like someone who reads books, but I do make an effort to read every night. And I've got a good amount of books, like A Clockwork Orange, The Marquis de Sade, Flowers for Algernon, and yes, even the elusive Bunnicula and the Celery Stalks of Midnight. Although I love reading them and I try to take something from most of the books I read, nothing ever gets me passionate to the point of making a video on it. Not even close. But if you believe anything I've ever said on this channel at all, I promise you this. Near the end of this book, I was gripping the book with a knot in my stomach because of how gripped I was in this horrific book. Also, there is so many secrets and theories in this book, I cannot cover them all. So obviously, I won't say all the theories, so I want you to read it yourself if you haven't. If I didn't mention your favorite theory, I'm sorry, but this was just my experience and understanding. The book, as you've probably seen from the thumbnail and title, is named House of Leaves, a book published in March of 2000, but from the interviews from the author, Mark Z. Danielewski, he worked on it for around a decade. And we'll get into the author a little later due to a theory that I and many others share about the book and its contents. The book itself is considered by Google to be a horror novel as well as ergodic literature. I'd forgive you if you didn't know what ergodic literature means, because before researching this video, and to go even further, before I even wrote this paragraph, I also did not know what that meant.
Ergodic literature is a term or genre that means the book or text requires you not only to read the book or text, but also navigate it non-linearly. So, to make it easier, the book is not read like a normal book.
Like
And
Pulp.
regardless of the
It's like
text,
Memento or Pulp Fiction, only it's not a film, it's a book.
In Leaf's case, the book is fiction, yes, but it is mostly written to look like a scientific dissertation. You know, like how in high school and college you'd have to write a paper and cite your references and add footnotes. Yeah, it's like that.
Wow.
Not only that, the text sometimes falls apart.
Like the book is a problem to solve.
Example. On page 94, we see a pretty average-looking page of what could be a real college paper on a movie. But then if we skip a little and turn to page 126, you can see some of the problem. The page is divided. There's a metaphorical hole in the page, and you can see the text backwards around the left side of the page. Then if we go even further to page 233, it gets weird. Words are strewn across the page seemingly for no reason. There's tons of blank space as well as seemingly random word placement. The book falls apart, and it's hard to read it. So, to make it even easier, ergodic literature is a book or text that makes it hard for the reader to read the book normally and makes the reader backtrack and really think about how the book works. Before we begin, I would like to mention how I learned about this book myself. It's kind of a stupid way, but I feel it almost adds to the story. Around a year or two ago, I was watching a video by the YouTuber Some Ordinary Gamers, a huge channel.
This guy's, I think Mercer's Annihilate.
Called Doom, old FPS game that I personally.
His Annihilate's really in his he's actually very developed in terms of his extroverted ethics. I think going to becoming an actor, the need to do the extroverted ethics is very clear. And so the logical side to him is apparent in his design of things, his as a dungeon master, but also in his actual interests. But his job is it puts a lot in his mobilizing function.
The closet goes on for miles, when the house itself is a normal 2-story house. It isn't possible for it to go on for miles. Anyway, to make a long story short, it really gave me the sense of uneasiness that famous liminal spaces like backrooms would give you. So after watching the video and being intrigued enough, I learned that the mod itself was based on a book of all things, one called House of Leaves. So I looked it up and I saw these ergodic literature staples and I got very intrigued. So I bought myself the book and started reading it. Which, like I said earlier, I have never been so amazed by a book ever like this. All because of a stupid Doom mod that I once saw in a random video. We're going to get into the walkthrough of the entire text soon. But before that, I want to say one more thing. This book is very strange in the fact that although it is fiction, it's something of a layered fiction. What does that mean? Well, in this story, you cannot tell for sure what is really happening, or what you're supposed to pay attention to. The book is purposely hard to read and understand at times.
Yep.
In House of Leaves, you are not reading 1, not 2, not 3, but perhaps 4 stories at the exact same time.
Yep. It is a very intricate thing.
Going into the book, I expected it to be a normal-ish horror fiction novel. But before I knew it, I was in 2 different stories being told at the same time.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the book, I realized I wasn't in just 2 different stories, but 4. I'm not going to spoil it too much yet, but the 4 stories that you are reading are the main scientific dissertation, the editor's story of how he thinks he is editing the scientific dissertation, what is really going on in the whole narrative, and finally, how the story may have something to do with the real author of the whole novel. Okay, now, finally, after going over 4 pages of script before even getting to the first words of the book, here is your warning. If you have not read House of Leaves, I highly, highly suggest you read it before you watch this video.
Yep. I think that's a good idea. Let's stop from there. But that tells you a bit about what this book is about and why this might be his favorite book.
You too? Was that the one? No, that can't be right. Shit. As you talk a lot about the U2 concert where No Doubt opened.
Correct. That was a great concert.
And No Doubt was better than U2.
Yeah.
Well, was that your first concert? Yeah, I'll say that's my answer. I don't know if that's right.
It is not right. That is incorrect. That was the Moody Blues. At the Hollywood Bowls for my dad's birthday. Yeah. Alrighty, bringing it back to hobby-related topics here. Marisha, Of all the miniatures that I've painted, which one is my favorite?
I'll say the Gorm mini for Kingdom Death, but I don't think that's right.
Good choice, but not quite. No point on that one. It's the Dragon King. The Dragon King for Kingdom Death Monster.
Oh.
Face in the chest. That one I'm proud of most. Marisha, who is my favorite Marvel?
Nightcrawler.
Yeah, out of the gate, boom, got the point on that one. Marisha, which character that I've voiced
Nightcrawler.
do I think I'm the most like?
Maybe. What's your JoJo's Bizarre Adventure character?
Jotaro?
Jotaro?
Jotaro Kujo?
Well, he's like fun and bombastic. Okay, judging by your face, that's definitely not correct.
I'm keeping it neutral here. What do you?
You are not keeping it neutral. You play like moody and aloof characters all the time,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't really say you're moody or aloof.
No, I also a lot. I would go with Leon Kennedy.
I thought Leon Kennedy, but once again, he's very like aloof.
I don't think he's that.
You know who actually might have been better?
Oh.
I'm gonna say your answer is wrong.
Okay, yeah. What you got? What you got? What you got?
McCready from Fallout. McCready?
Also pretty close. Yeah. Yeah.
I think he's a little bit more closer to you than Leon.
Maybe a basic comparison. Okay, you know what? I'll give you a half point for contesting my answer with an actual pretty decent follow-up.
Yeah.
I'll give you a half point on that.
Okay, I'll take half points.
All right, you should know this one. Marisha, what is my favorite Street Fighter character?
Dan?
Pretty close. But that's not.
Okay, why McCready from Fallout? The adolescent mayor of a child-exclusive settlement of Little Lampland capital Wasteland. Though notoriously foul-mouthed and belligerent in his younger years, 22-year-old McCready is far more reserved and polite. Years of hard living turned into a hard and fighting with adversity through liberties of sarcasm and humor. He's not totally immune to shock. The verse of violence doesn't revel in either. If possible, he'll bluff his way through to minimize danger himself and others. That includes eating fish, which tends to make him less than pleasant company. Right, I don't, yeah, no, I don't really see or understand. Okay.
Point.
Or Puma. Hey, that's right. I should have done that. But you have a soft spot for
Of course I do. Danny Biggie's the best.
Mm.
Second. Marisha, what was the class of my very first D&D characters?
Okay, I know this. You were a wizard that wielded swords because you wanted to be like Gandalf, but like a fighter wizard.
You know, I actually kind of wanted to be a red mage when I first wanted to get into this sort of thing.
Correct, full point on that one.
Yep, he didn't want to have to choose, really. He wanted to be a sort of a brainy person who could also fight.
We like dwarves. That's
I like dwarves.
Bard?
Bard, give you the point. Yeah. Yeah. Marisha.
Yeah.
What is my least favorite anime character?
None of his answers are straightforward at all, even earlier on in his approach.
Why would you read this?
Don't know. That's why I'm trying to think of that. I had a thought.
You clearly had a thought
I did.
that you were probably just thinking of in the moment.
Yeah.
Your least favorite anime character of all time. You have a thing against, you're not crazy about like whiny girls, high-pitched whiny girls, or girls who wear tiny hats. You like tiny hats.
What?
It's meant to be a certain size.
I'm just gonna pivot this question to about how you hate tiny hats.
I'll give half points for any character with a tiny hat. I believe that concludes all my questions.
That's all of yours?
That's all mine, yeah.
Oh, I wonder how many points I got.
We'll
There's a lot of half points in there. Yeah.
Like a handful of half points. You did really good, though. Well, now's the time. Grill me. Grill me, Marisha.
Right. Okay. I think highly. To be honest, I think highly. Thank you for that, Intreon. Greatly appreciated. Let's move on now to Tobey Maguire. That's a cool one. Look at Tobey Maguire. Spider-Man. Goodness, he's 50. Can you believe Tobey Maguire's 50 now? American actor, film producer, began his career in supporting roles before gaining international recognition and critical praise for his role as Spider-Man in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. Maguire reprised the role in 2 sequels. He has a career of dramatic roles in Seabiscuit, The Good German, The Great Gatsby. He received a critical acclaim for Best Actor in a Motion Picture Drama's role as PTSD-stricken soldier in the war film Brothers. Yeah, true. Right. Let's see. During his childhood, he entertained the idea of becoming a chef. Wanted to enroll in the home economics class as a 6th grader. Mother offered him $100 to take a drama class instead, and he agreed. The transient nature of his school years told him Maguire emotionally, and after another relocation of his freshman year, he dropped out of high school, did not return. He decided to pursue an acting career. In his teenage years, he suffered from drug abuse and alcoholism. Goodness. Let's look on Wikipedia for Tobey Maguire. Hmm. He reflected on his school experience, noting that he had been present but not fully engaged, his self-directed completion and a formalized education while advancing his professional pursuits. Let's see. Looking for Spider-Man, he sought to diversify his acting portfolio with more grounded, dramatic roles, moving away from superhero fare. A brief appearance in Tropic Thunder. First major leading role was in Brothers, a psychological drama directed by Jim Sheridan, adapted from the Danish film Brodre. He portrayed Captain Sam Cahill. His return home strains family dynamics. Parallel to his acting, became involved in film production. Building earlier credits like 25th Hour, he founded the production company Material Pictures to develop and finance independent projects. Following success of his early producing efforts, he increasingly shifted towards production work for his company Material Pictures. One of his notable acting returns was in Porn Sacrifice. Okay. Several hobbies. I'm playing tournament poker. Hold sessions. We probably won substantial sums. He received instruction from professional player, including events towards his poker. Practices yoga as part of his fitness routine, also cardio, vegetarian diet, transition to veganism, motivated by concerns for animal welfare and environmental sustainability. He's taken up competitive puzzling, engaged in time jigsaw challenges induced by a friend. He was an avid art collector. Philanthropy for community service, health and environmental causes. Okay. Let's see an interview of Tobey Maguire, eh?
want you to do Spider-Man again. What was it?
Yeah, I went and had a meeting with Amy and Kevin, Amy Pascal and Kevin Feige, and had talked about. They sort of just teased it. I think Amy was like, "We'd love to talk to you, and you know what this is about." And I was like, "Okay, sure, let's have a chat." And
with Amy, you're like, "No, I don't, Amy. No."
yeah, no, I know. I was like, maybe you could just give me a little bit of information, but I don't know. I gotta say, I was in.
I'm not going to get very much of this interview. I'm going to find a different one. 2007, so old. What went wrong with his career? Okay, let's look at that.
This video is sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform to build a professional website,
Yeah,
strengthen your brand, and grow your business on. This is Hollywood lore. Let's go. Now we know we're living in the version of reality where Tobey Maguire became an actor. But the odds of that not happening were pretty high. At first, little Tobey wanted to be a chef like his dad, and whenever his mom tried to talk him into acting classes, he'd pull a dramatic face and chop onions instead. Apparently, Tobey's parents already had some suspicions and just paid him $100 to visit damn classes. Facing such a solid argument, Tobey immediately decided to become a talented actor.
Interesting.
Maguire first showed up on screen in the 1989 adventure comedy, The Wizard. His role there was so major, he didn't even make it into the credits. So really, Tobey's career mostly started in TV shows, where he stood somewhere in the background. He even managed to stand next to Chuck Norris in Walker, Texas Ranger. But in general, spotting Tobey in those requires a telescope. The only noticeable role Maguire had at the time was in the sitcom Great Scott. But that one had a different problem. You needed a telescope to find the show itself. It was one of the least popular series on TV and got canceled almost immediately. The actor also did some widely random ads, from Atari Lynx to McDonald's and Doritos. Around that time, Tobey met another young talented actor at the audition, who was also running around TV series and blockbusters like Critters 3. Leo and Tobey were both trying to get the lead role in This Boy's Life with Robert De Niro. When DiCaprio was picked, he didn't flex on his new buddy Maguire. Instead, he asked the director to cast Tobey as well. And just like that, as they say, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Don't they kind of remind you of a certain other sweet Twix duo? This Boy's Life didn't exactly crush it at the box office, but did pretty well on home video. Plus, critics loved the movie. Leo got a whole basket of nominations as the promising newcomer, and these days some even call it one of his best films. Tobey might have had a secondary role, but he still scored a few perks, like filmmakers actually started casting the actor, and not just as background furniture. The movies themselves weren't big hits though, and in the now cult classic Empire Records, Maguire's character got straight up cut. Not that Tobey had time to whine. His buddy Leo was riding high and gathered a crew of other young stars, including Maguire. The Wild Bunch was nicknamed the Pussy Posse, probably rode a yellow Chevrolet Silverado, and tore up clubs. Fueled by their own greatness, and inspired by Kevin Smith's Clerks, the guys decided to cook up something similar. And that's how the indie improv film, Don's Plum, was born. It started off as a short, where Tobey, Leo, and a few others drank beer and told stories which nowadays would have definitely pissed off 1/3 of the planet. But in the good old days, you could send something like that at a random no-name film fest and walk away with a certificate for creativity, which is probably what Leo and Tobey were going for. Once the raw footage started turning into a full-length cinematic gem, the actors immediately got very excited and did everything they could for the release to get canceled. After all the legal drama, some especially frightening scenes were cut, and the film was released in 2001 everywhere except the US and Canada. Thanks to Lars von Trier's efforts, it even got screened at Berlinale. But according to reports, no one there had a spiritual awakening or grew a third eye from watching the movie. The only real result was potential trouble for DiCaprio's career, which was already somewhere in the stratosphere. And suddenly, Leo wasn't so into filming experimental raw chats with his buddies anymore. Maguire's career by 2001 was a different story. Yeah, it seemed like things were finally picking up for him in the late 90s, even with all the box office disasters. Ang Lee's The Ice Storm, Woody Allen's Deconstructing Harry, and Terry Gilliam's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. all flopped at the box office.
Mm.
Each had a budget around 20 million and barely made half of that back. But if those directors' names ring any bells for you, it should be clear why the money didn't really matter. Critics showered all three films with praise. Fear
Yes.
and Loathing in Las Vegas turned into a cult classic instantly. So everyone was patting Toby on the back, telling him he was doing a good job. And in 1998, the actor landed the lead in what would become one of most outstanding projects in his filmography.
Mm.
Pleasantville was the first movie that was created by scanning and digitizing recorded footage for the purpose of removing or manipulating colors. 163,000 frames were scanned in order to selectively desaturate and adjust contrast digitally. The film became a great example of outstanding visuals at the time, and also a textbook one of how not to schedule your crew's working hours. The film's cinematographer Brent Hirschman fell asleep while driving home after a 19-hour shoot and went straight off the road to meet his maker. A new cinematographer was needed. The family filed a lawsuit, and the crew got pissed enough to demand a strict 14-hour workday from New Line Cinema. That demand even got a name, Brent's Rule. Sounds serious, but in the 90s, nobody really gave a crap about that kind of stuff. So the studio just winked and politely advised to finish the movie on time. Speaking of pulling off deadlines, such a bizarre coincidence. This very video is brought to you by Squarespace.
Oh, no.
The all-in-one platform to build a professional website fast
and
observing control in the Cider House Rules, directed by Lasse Hallström, the guy behind What's Eating Gilbert Grape and Chocolate. Originally, the lead role was meant for DiCaprio.
Right.
That makes sense considering his performance in Gilbert Grape landed him
Isn't
Oscar
getting
and Golden Globe nominations.
It's annoying.
But for whatever reason, Leo passed. And he wasn't the only one. Rumor has it Edward Norton and the sugary duo Damon and Affleck walked away too. So when there was basically no one left, the producers chose Toby. Whether Leo had anything to do with that decision, well, that part's still a mystery, so you decide. Charlize Theron wasn't exactly thrilled with that casting choice, especially since she had to strip down during filming, while Maguire was already practicing his signature smug, horny facial expression. The actress even said Toby acted like a diva on set, and working with him was a pain in the butt. But then during the promo tour, Theron suddenly changed her tune and started calling him a great guy you wouldn't want to strangle at all. The Cider House Rules was Toby's first commercially successful film, making $89 million, costing $24 million. And yeah, the awards again were there. Actually, a ton of them, including 7 Oscar nominations. Toby himself was ignored by critics, but whatever.
Yeah,
Still
I think
counted.
you're right, Andrew.
Without Cider House, things might have gone south for his career, because around that same time came one of the year's biggest flops, another Ang Lee project.
I don't think it's
Rocking with
AI,
the
but it
Devil.
sounds pretty much like AI.
This Civil War Western made just over $500,000 at the box office on a budget of 38. Adjusted for today, that's like making a movie for 80 million and earning just 1. Some say part of the problem was Maguire himself. Like no badass action, no cool cowboy vibes, just long-haired, sad Toby in the stupid freaking hat. The studio didn't believe in the film either, skipped the marketing campaign, and cut the screen count. 6 years later, Ang Lee would make another cowboy movie. This time about real, strong male friendship. And that one hit the jackpot. Ride with the Devil lacked that cowboy bonding magic, so the movie sank hard. Wonder Boys with Michael Douglas flopped too, making just $33 million on a budget of 55. That's a solid one for a movie like that. And the reason, as you might have guessed, lies in the name mentioned above. Sure, Michael Douglas was generous enough to slash his usual fee, but slashing still meant $10 million. So Toby's career by 2001 was like that. Just one commercial hit, a bunch of critic favorite movies where no one really singled him out, and a recent streak of box office flops. And yeah, Cats and Dogs, of course. An animation where Toby did voice work alongside Alec Baldwin and Susan Sarandon. It made $200 million, costing $60. Pretty nice, but come on. We all know voice work is different, and you can't really count it as a real win. No, it's not like Maguire was facing the real possibility of working in Burger King or anything. In the early 2000s, both he and Kirsten Dunst were offered parts in a horror film that actually started out as a script for an X-Files episode. True fans recognize it as Final Destination, which ended up becoming a standalone movie and made $113 million on a budget of 23. Toby and Dunst passed and were goddamn right, which kind of sounds weird given how well the film did. But you already know why it's actually true. Spider-Man almost ended up in Cannon Films' hands.
Right.
The guys who cooked punch fests with Chuck Norris, the Belgian ballet master, and other American ninjas. Back in the late 80s, the studio bought the rights to bring friendly neighborhood hero to the screen. According to rumors, they imagined a mix of The Fly and Darkman, shooting this Frankenstein with leftover money from Bloodsport or whatever. Clearly, the universe wasn't having it, and Cannon Films went under. After that, the rights to Peter Parker got tossed around like a hot potato, until Sony finally caught it and brought in Sam Raimi. He was thrilled to finally adapt a famous comic instead of inventing one from scratch just to film it. More on that in our Liam Neeson video. After the success of X-Men, Hollywood started taking comic book movies more seriously.
Mad
For
film.
Peter Parker, the studio wanted someone solid. Leonardo DiCaprio, Heath Ledger, or Freddie Prinze Jr. at the very least. But actors were still spooked by comics, probably remembering what happened to Chris O'Donnell's career. So, when the choice reached Wes Bentley, director Sam Raimi stepped in and pitched Tobey Maguire, who had really impressed him in the Cider House Rules. The studio initially resisted, but Tobey showed them something in the audition that made them reconsider. Word is what Tobey showed off was his newly beefed up biceps, which he'd been working on for a role in Training Day. That part eventually went to Ethan Hawke, but as we now know, Tobey didn't exactly lose out. All that muscle came in handy when he started training for Spider-Man with the same guy who later prepped Brad Pitt for Troy. Tobey didn't get quite as epic as Pitt, of course, and definitely not like Henry Cavill later on. Maybe because Cavill had chicken breasts and Tobey was a vegetarian, with, let's say, some protein sourcing issues. What happened next? We know. 2 weeks at #1 in box office, $827 million on a budget of $139, a pile of award nominations including Oscars, and iconic Kiss in the Rain. MTV even gave it an award, which is pretty hilarious if you know how it was shot. According to the actors, it was like that. Tobey was hanging upside down, shivering from the cold, with rainwater gurgling in his nose, while Kirsten was trying not to get smacked in the head by his boot. Surely romantic in its own way, just not the kind you expect. Needless to say, all that discomfort paid off big time, especially for Maguire. He got $4 million for the role, plus a contract that included a possibility for raises in sequels if the film crushed double money. Tobey almost sabotaged all that success during the promo tour, by the way. On one of the shows, he casually dropped he'd never read a comic book, and honestly, didn't give a crap. The producers were super thrilled by this level of honesty, and similar confessions mysteriously stopped. A bit annoyed by the mighty producers, Tobey decided to become a movie producer.
I've got to see that. Let me find this. Is it here?
Did you know that about Spider-Man?
No, not an AI voice, please. Tobey Maguire. I don't know. What was I meant to find? I can't find it on Google. He specifically mentioned, to be honest, I never read a comic in my entire life before doing this movie. He was sort of because he could embody the personal traits and gentle demeanor of the character established in the script. Indicates he may have looked at some material during the production process to prepare, but it was not a requirement for him. Never hidden his discomfort at the intense spotlight that comes with fame. Well, pushback against the idea that celebrity should mean constant public access. So why discuss web Trans vehicle blocking his path? Because might be if you were ever president, he would make it legal to go after overly aggressive paparazzi. He would also effectively stray with non-stop public to create. Right, okay. What else can we see? Let's keep on this.
Himself, starting with Spike Lee's 25th Hour. Word is Maguire originally wanted to star there himself, but backed out for some reason. Maybe the reason was Edward Norton circling the project with fiery eyes. Norton pushed hard for the lead, pouring his entire Red Dragon salary into 25th Hour. Not an easy argument to beat.
I need that money.
More on that in our Norton video, but let's keep going. Instead of 25th Hour, Toby jumped into Seabiscuit. Being a producer there, he modestly demanded $12 million for also being a talented lead. Critics loved the film and threw numerous Oscar nominations at it, including Best Picture, though the movie didn't actually win anything. At the box office, Seabiscuit didn't shine, making $148 million, costing $87. But here's the twist. Home video sales brought in just as much, pushing the total to $300 million.
Spider-Man 2.
Given the massive success of the first Spider-Man, the studio started working on the sequel the second they noticed the opening weekend numbers, which, by the way, was a massive $115 million. The release of the second film was scheduled for 2004. For the most part, everything went according to plan except for one major surprise. That surprise was Tobey Maguire asking for a $20 million paycheck. The actor's contract for the first film technically allowed a move like that, and getting $12 million for Seabiscuit only fueled the fire. Toby clearly figured he could just add another $8 million each year to his fee and live on Easy Street. Great news for him, but the studio suddenly wasn't happy hearing about this clever plan. Instead, they quickly Delta to find someone a little more affordable. Yeah, the official reason wasn't filthy evergreen pieces of paper, but Maguire's back problems, which he got while filming Seabiscuit. Anyway, instead of Toby, Jake Gyllenhaal was squeezed into the Spidey suit, and he'd already started doing a bit of wall crawling.
Wow.
Seeing where things were headed, Maguire quickly fell in love with the daughter of Universal's studio head. Rumor has it, the potential father-in-law had a little talk with some very important people, and explained that with great talent comes great payment responsibility. That little chit-chat was curative. Maguire's back pain magically vanished, and he was ready to do stunts again, while Jake Gyllenhaal was booted straight to the day after tomorrow. Still, to pay very important people some respects, Toby had to shave $2 million off his ask, settling for 18. All that got sorted, but things suddenly didn't get any easier. There were issues with the script, which was rewritten several times. In the early drafts, Otto Octavius was a young science geek hitting on Mary Jane. Feeling the soap opera between the three might get boring, Raimi planned to use a couple more villains, Lizard and Black Cat. In the end, all that was scrapped, and someone older and more respectable had to portray Doc Ock. Ed Harris, Chris Cooper, and Christopher Walken were all considered, but Sam Raimi watched Frida at just the right time and insisted on Alfred Molina. Spider-Man 2 made less at the box office than the first one, but let's be clear, less than the first one still meant $785 million on a budget of $200. Definitely a hit, just not as huge as Sony was expecting. Nice reviews from critics and an Oscar for visual effects helped a bit, but let's be real here. Who would up the sequel's budget by a third and expect to make less than the original? Because of that nuance, Maguire had to downsize his fee to $15 million in Part 3, but he did manage to get a bigger percentage of the box office profits. The third Spider-Man took a few years to make it to theaters.
It's amazing how this guy's
Toby starred in Steven Spielberg's
quite gentle
drama, The Good German.
He's such a hard demander of I guess it's his agent who's doing it.
Probably to make some festival noise and satisfy the critics. The Good German was clearly one of those, just like his Che Guevara films a couple years later. But The Good German didn't get lucky. Barely anyone noticed it, except for an Oscar nom for Best Score and a near win for the Golden Bear in Berlin. Maybe with such a fluffy title, this film was destined to get into the Berlinale no matter what. But anyways, The Good German didn't get the award and tanked at the box office amazingly, earning $6 million against its budget of $32.
Wow.
If filming Spider-Man 2 was a bit problematic, then making the third one smelled like full-blown ultra-violence. After the sequel underperformed, the studio stepped in and demanded Venom, Gwen Stacy, and all sorts of cool stuff that would lure people to theaters. Sam Raimi, who wanted Vulture, Sandman, and a heavy dose of drama, was forced to oblige and rebuild the film to fit the studio's demands. These efforts actually paid off. Spider-Man 3 made more money than previous parts.
Yeah, but it wasn't
nearly
very good.
900 million.
Wasn't
But
as good.
naturally, there was a catch. This time, the budget wasn't 130 million or even 200. It was 260, actually. And even that number is considered low by many, especially given the massive marketing campaign. Back then, pretty much anyone looking to grab a bite would run into the friendly neighborhood face at Burger King, Papa John's, 7-Eleven, and every other spot with affordable food. All that parade obviously wasn't free, and odds are it didn't fit into that 260 million. Even though Raimi later called making Spider-Man 3 the worst experience of his career, and Tobey admitted his acting there wasn't exactly top tier, neither of them said no to a fourth film. Raimi wanted to bring in the Vulture, played by John Malkovich, and Black Cat, supposedly Anne Hathaway. Tobey, on the other hand, didn't really want much, just money.
Double the money.
And rumor has it, he was asking for a shitload of it. Raimi tortured the script for ages. Then the studio declared they wanted the whole thing in 3D and ready for summer 2011. And that's when the director's nerves finally snapped.
I am dead inside.
Raimi Delta from the project, and with him gone, the franchise was rebooted. Imagine the glee on very important folks' faces when they signed Andrew Garfield's paycheck, a generous $500,000.
I'm lame.
For the sequel, Andrew got a full $1 million. Studio locked that number into his contract beforehand, spooked they might end up with another Tobey situation. Sneaky move, but the studio's anxiety made sense. With all the salaries and box office percentages,
Right.
Maguire made $150 million off Peter.
Just keep in mind, he makes a flop. Every film he's in is a flop, except for Spider-Man. So, but the problem is Spider-Man is not the kind of sort of indie film that or film that has those artistic qualities. Perhaps I'm just speculating here that someone like Tobey Maguire would actually want to feel particularly proud of. It's a big blockbuster, it just makes money. It's got producers all over it. And from this point, Toby's basically demanding huge amounts of money, but basically eventually alienate the producers, of course, to be knocked off it when it comes to a fourth film. Interesting.
Parker. After soaking in that golden rain, Tobey vanished from the screen for a while. He moved to producing films and high-stakes poker tournaments, where he built up a bit of a rep. The media even claimed he earned more from poker than from acting. Those exclusive poker nights were hosted by Molly Bloom, the one whose life story later became Molly's Game with Jessica Chastain. These games had millions of dollars in play, with Leonardo DiCaprio, Ben Affleck, Wall Street Sharks, and sports stars all at the table. But according to Bloom, Tobey wasn't just the most successful player. He was also the biggest jerk. She wrote that Maguire enjoyed mocking losers, once offered her $1,000 to bark like a dog, and in general, he and DiCaprio loved flexing around like they were the neighborhood bosses. In the movie about Bloom, by the way, Maguire is supposedly played by Michael Cera. Although Michael's character isn't named outright, anyone familiar with the story got the hint instantly, and Cera later confirmed the rumors. While playing poker with the next Darby or whatever, Tobey unexpectedly appeared in a tiny role that some genuinely consider the best one in his entire career. That would be a cameo in Tropic Thunder, which Maguire strongly resisted with all kinds of excuses to. Supposedly it was Robert Downey who finally convinced him, promising everything would be all right. In the 2009 film Brothers, Tobey actually wanted to participate from the start. He ended up playing another role. Director Jim Sheridan decided it should be Jake Gyllenhaal seducing Natalie Portman. And Tobey, who already had an internal fight with Venom on screen, had to do something like that once more. For his efforts, Maguire received a Golden Globe nomination. A big deal for the actor, since it's still his only nod from a major award. The movie itself sank at the box office, making $43 million on a budget of $26. 2 years later, Maguire showed up in the details, but not that anyone really noticed it. The actor had mostly moved to producing by then, founding a company called Material Pictures.
Right.
Toby's projects were Country Strong, Rock of Ages, Seeking Justice.
How'd that get in there?
And all of them failed financially. It kind of looked like the start of a big career drama.
So
But
more
then
flops.
out of nowhere, Maguire scored a big hit in 2013.
So this is the key thing. Why did he want to become a producer?
The official story, Toby landed The Great Gatsby thanks to his immense talent.
I need to that question needs to be answered. Why did he become a producer? He's not seeing enough scripts that interested him. He's got to stay involved in film industry on his own terms, other than solely relying on acting roles. Some more creative control. Producing because he wasn't exactly rushed off his feet with acting jobs. Has the time in my hands. He deadpanned. It was like I was getting acting in movie after movie. I just started going, all right, let me find things that I want to develop or try to build into movies that I want to make because I'm not seeing scripts I want to do. Let's see some of his quotes as well. I mean, curious about certain things, but didn't let them get in the way of my life. I don't know how people become successful with some kind of habit. Interesting. I believe in the higher forces within me. As some character traits that some might see as innocence or naive, that's because I discovered peace and happiness in my soul. And with this knowledge, I also see the beauty of human life. I think the greatest way to learn is to learn by someone's example. If I wanted to be to go be social, I wouldn't have any fear of that. I don't feel like I'm a shy person at all. I am a blank slate, therefore I can create anything I want. So critical for his own work, it's difficult for him to disassociate himself and watch it as an audience. I just try to give an attitude that I don't know what I'm doing, not to the point where I'm beating myself up, but just going thinking that I have a lot to learn, and I hope I still have an attitude 30 years from now. And do Doritos commercial where there are 4 days in a row of eating them, and I'll tell you, I've not eaten main Doritos since. There is a sense here that has quite a bit of introverted intuition. I'm curious about certain things, but I didn't let them get in the way of my life. I don't know how people become successful with some kind of habit. What context for that one? Right. Let's see.
It wasn't too long ago that Tobey Maguire was sitting firmly at the top of Hollywood, an A-list star headlining one of the biggest superhero franchises of all time. After bringing Peter Parker to life in the Spider-Man trilogy, he became a household name and one of the highest-paid actors of the 2000s. But somewhere along the line, that momentum faded, the roles slowed down, the spotlight dimmed, and the once unstoppable star quietly slipped out of Hollywood's front row. Today we're going to talk about Tobey Maguire's downfall and why he is no longer seen in movies. Tobias Vincent Maguire first appeared on screen at just 13 years old, landing a small role.
Yeah, no, we're not. We're getting through all this.
$1 million in its first week.
No.
The third film didn't land the way fans or critics hoped, and behind the scenes there was already tension building. After the first movie, Tobey was paid $4 million, while the film pulled in over $821 million worldwide. That kind of success can make anyone feel untouchable, and Tobey started believing he was irreplaceable. So when it came time to negotiate the sequels, he tried to play hardball with Sony. The studio responded by quietly scouting a replacement, Jake Gyllenhaal. Realizing the situation, Tobey backed down and agreed to a slightly lower deal than he wanted. Still massive, though, earning $32.5 million across Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3. Even though Spider-Man 3 made money,
These are
the movie
outrageous sums.
too many villains, too many storylines, and that infamous evil Peter Parker dance that still lives on as a meme. The attempt to force a darker tone simply didn't connect. The backlash was so bad that director Sam Raimi planned Spider-Man 4 to try and redeem the trilogy, but Sony wasn't interested. They scrapped the project entirely and started fresh with The Amazing Spider-Man. Just as Tobey feared, he was branded as Peter Parker. When he stopped playing Peter Parker, his career took a massive dive, and after 2 failed movies, Hollywood producers were convinced not to take any more risks by giving him another main character role. To most people, Tobey Maguire is Spider-Man. He didn't have a long list of defining roles before the trilogy, and after it ended, he didn't land anything strong enough to shift that image. Once you become too iconic in one role, it can trap you, and that's exactly what happened. His major films after Spider-Man didn't do enough to keep his momentum going. Seabiscuit earned praise, but barely made a lasting impact. The Great Gatsby did make money, but considering the massive hype and stacked cast, it didn't hit the cultural level everyone expected. It came and went. So Tobey was left with one major defining character, and no real follow-up to anchor the next chapter of his career. What makes this even more ironic is that Tobey's career cooled down right as superhero films were about to explode into the dominant genre of Hollywood. He was part of that early wave of Marvel movies that didn't benefit from the cinematic universe machine that came later. A lot of actors from that era fell into the same slump. Halle Berry, Jessica Alba, Famke Johnson, Kirsten Dunst, even Hugh Jackman had to fight to stay relevant outside Wolverine. With the exception of Chris Evans, who simply switched superheroes and got a second life as Captain America. Most early Marvel actors struggled to keep their careers hot once their superhero run ended. On top of the typecasting and fading roles, Tobey didn't exactly help his own image. He was known to love high-stakes poker, and he had the money to play big. But not all the games he participated in were legal. About 9 years ago, Tobey was sued for taking part in illegal poker circles connected to a Ponzi scheme. To avoid the legal mess dragging on, he settled the case in 2012. But the real hit to his reputation came from Molly Bloom, the woman who ran those secret poker games for celebrities, billionaires, and Hollywood elites. Her memoir, and the film based on it, Molly's Game, portrayed Tobey in a very ugly light. According to her, Tobey was the worst tipper, the best player, and the absolute worst loser. One story in particular stuck. Allegedly, Tobey once refused to give her a $1,000 chip unless she barked like a seal to earn it. Molly's book also hinted that Tobey's marriage may have been helped along by his wife's connection to a major studio, something that didn't sit well with the public either. All of this combined painted Tobey as someone cold, arrogant, and unpleasant to work with, and that image definitely didn't help his career at a time when he needed Hollywood on his side the most. But here's where things get even more complicated. Tobey has always had a naturally youthful look and a soft, almost gentle voice, traits that served him perfectly early in his career. In films like The Cider House Rules and of course Spider-Man, that boyish sincerity worked. But as he got older, something unexpected happened. He didn't age into more mature roles. He still looked and sounded like the younger version of himself. And for audiences, that made it harder to take him seriously in heavier adult characters. You can see it clearly in Baz Luhrmann's The Great Gatsby in 2013. Tobey was technically playing a grown man in the jazz age, but visually and emotionally, he felt like a slightly older version of the roles he'd been playing years earlier. The irony is that his close friend and co-star Leonardo DiCaprio had the same problem early on. But Leo overcame it by intentionally choosing darker, more challenging roles in the late 2000s and forcing audiences to see him in a new light. Tobey never made that pivot. He's not a romantic lead nor a comedic actor. His range is narrow, and Hollywood roles that fit that range are limited. There are places he could shine, television for example, where character-driven stories and subtle performance styles thrive, but he's shown little interest in going that route. Instead, Maguire eventually shifted his focus behind the camera, founding his own production company, Material Pictures. But the results there haven't been any better. Most of the films released under the company have struggled financially, even when they received decent feedback from audiences. Rock of Ages brought in about $38.5 million on a $75 million budget, a clear loss. Pawn Sacrifice barely made a dent, pulling in just $2.4 million in 2015. and the 2016 thriller The Fifth Wave only managed around $33.1 million. In every case, the movies either broke, even at best, or flat out failed to recover their budgets. So even when Tobey moved away from acting to reinvent himself behind the scenes, the box office still didn't work in his favor. Tobey Maguire's story is a reminder that fame is fragile. One day, you're the hero everyone looks up to, the face on every billboard, the character kids pretend to be in their backyard, and then slowly the world moves on. Tobey wasn't a bad actor. He wasn't talentless. He just got caught in the crossfire of timing, typecasting, and some choices that came back to haunt him. And in a world as fast and unforgiving as Hollywood, that's all it takes. But the truth is, for millions of us,
Fascinating.
he will always be our Spider-Man, the one who made being a hero feel human. If you enjoyed this breakdown, want more...
I need to see another interview of him, I think. What's interesting about him is that he feels he needs to... He's not so enamored with the acting. I mean, he got pushed into it to some degree when he was younger, but he's almost averse now to going back into acting. And he's sort of focused far more on being a producer rather than actually pivoting into new sorts of roles. There is an attitude issue where it's seen as more transactional. It seems odd for an IAI. It does seem odd. He doesn't seem to have flexible extroverted ethics. If anything, it could seem to be more stubborn, potentially. But in what form? The whole poker thing and some of the quite dickish things he'd do, and was going on some sort of power trip. That's also strange to me. A certain lack of flexibility in terms of how he comes across. He basically can do a certain kind of acting and can't do much more than that. Also, how he'd say things which would be very badly received, such as saying he's never read a comic book. That's also quite interesting. I think we need to have an interview. A good interview. What's this talk about Sam Raimi? Let's look at that.
You in that manner.
Back.
What? What's the point of that? Oh, this looks interesting. Quite short.
Damon had some references of what he was thinking for McKay, and then as I was learning about the Blockhouse and you know, people wore different things, masks and makeup, and so that some of that, like the makeup that James McKay applies, is part of the you know, fun and sort of dress up of being in that environment, and working with them with the hair, makeup, costume, all of that, like putting McKay together, which also obviously Damien, all of us just talking about it, and we would try different things and walk around, and it's really interesting because it's as much forming like my performance as anything. It's, you know, doing the hair and makeup and putting the clothes on and walking around, you start to feel certain ways. But it was, I don't want to say it was easy exactly, but it just, everybody's ideas were good and we were just coming together, and the look came together pretty quickly between Damien's vision of it and then all of us, you know, collaborating on putting it together. The costume definitely brings like a real feeling of authenticity, which is so helpful. And actually with the costumes, we really explored pretty different ideas, and then ultimately what we ended up with, which I don't know if we had like 5 or 6 pretty different or distinct looks, and that one that we put on just for me felt like, yep, this is it. And
all of that, and it's not one thing, but the costumes were really helpful for me in building the character, inclusive of feeling authentic about the period, which of course also being on the sets.
Okay, this is not a great interview. It's too specific. It's good to, let's see, Film Actors Guild. Let's see, they got something. Let's see. That's not. No, it's not the Film Actors Guild. No, it's called. What's it called? It's not Film Actors Guild. It's called. Is it Actors Studio? I keep thinking it's Film Actors Guild. It's not. It's something quite different. What's it? Jonathan Lippman. Is it called John? I can't remember now. Hang on. Inside the Actors Studio. That's it. Now, is Tobey Maguire? Has he had one? Because those are, in my view, the best interviews of actors. No, he hasn't had one. That's fascinating. He just hasn't had one at all. Let's do a longer interview. Come on. Okay, let's look at this one. Howard Stern.
Expected that. I don't know what to expect.
You a little nervous though? A little worried at all?
Not really worried. I get a little nervous whenever I have to talk to people, but not extremely nervous.
So it's nothing, that Howard can bring up that, would throw you for a loop.
I don't know.
Nothing at all.
I will see. I'm not worried about it. If I don't like something, I just don't talk about it.
All right.
Well,
we'll see you in a little bit.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
All right, come on, let's get
People
Spider-Man.
assume he's like Elijah Wood. He's not like Elijah Wood. There doesn't seem any of that sort of desire to please you see with Elijah Wood.
Fire. I got 1,000,001 questions. I want to go through the whole friggin' thing with this guy.
Yeah, he's gonna be grilled.
Give the poon thing. This guy, Tobey Maguire. Hey, Toby, nice seeing you. What do you got there? Some Spider-Man junk?
Web blaster.
A web blaster. Let me put it on for the interview. Thank you. You get a piece of this action or what?
Of course.
I know it sort of feels like what's odd about this, that the more I've gone into this, the more that how he was in Spider-Man 3 in this sort of black Spider-Man phase is actually closer to how he actually is.
Web blaster.
That's the weird big surprise of this for me.
I wish I'd been wearing my web blaster. It's my biggest disappointment.
Well, I tried to get you invited to the premiere because you said you would wear the Spidey suit.
I would have worn the Spider-Man outfit. When I saw you at the Tonight Show many years ago, I was doing the Tonight Show. You were there. You were doing well.
You said there was some kid there. I don't know who it was.
There was some kid. You were doing all right, but I never thought that you would become Spider-Man, which is the dream job of all time, is it not?
It's pretty great.
Get close to the microphone. I don't want to miss a word of what you got to say.
All right.
I think we got Peter Parker this morning. That's
I want to hear Spider-Man. Now, first of all, you had to sign an agreement that you would be available for at least 2 more Spider-Mans.
Right.
so. You're going to be at least in 3.
Right.
That's very good.
Will you be like Michael Keaton and go, because the franchise is going to be very successful. To me, as an actor, to be in this franchise, you could end up making hundreds of millions of dollars.
You could rule show business.
Will you stick with the franchise? Or will you be like Michael Keaton and go, I can't do this? Meanwhile, Michael Keaton can't even get a good movie now. Yeah, I haven't seen a Michael Keaton movie in a while.
There is
What
no
about it?
such thing.
Are you afraid of getting typecast, or are you going to embrace being Spider-Man?
I'm embracing it. I'm not really afraid of being typecast, anyways. But I'm excited to do the next one.
Yeah. When do you start shooting that?
Early next year, January, February, March, somewhere in there.
Is it going to take another 5 years
Fine.
to get the next one out?
I think the intentions are about 2 years till it's released.
My biggest problem is
Like
that
matter of
you
fact
release
delivery.
them, like comic books, at least one a year.
Yeah.
Roll them out and get going.
To wait.
There's enough good stories, and then you can concentrate on different things. If you get it becomes too big. It's in a sense, there's so much hype.
It is, but it takes a while to make these things. So, but they did it with Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. I think they're doing them one a year.
How long does it take to shoot a Spider-Man movie?
We shot for about 5 months, but there's a whole prep time, and then all the computer stuff afterwards takes a while.
What'd you do? You do special workout? Because when you finally turn into Spider-Man, you're muscular as hell. How did that work? How do you get that size?
I worked out for 5 months, 6 days a week, up to 4 hours a day.
And do you eat more food when you do that?
Had a nutritionist, and I was eating 4 to 6 meals a day, lots of protein.
No kidding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't seem to get pumped up myself.
But you haven't devoted this much time to it. You know, it's got to become a job.
Yeah, how many hours a day do I need to devote to get pumped up?
A couple hours a day, probably.
All right, I got a million questions for you. You got to take me through it.
Okay.
First of all, and then I'll challenge you to a Spider-Man quiz, and we'll see how you do.
I think you're going to beat me from what I hear.
Yeah, I'm good. So you're telling me that you signed up for the first one. I read you got a reported $4 million for doing the first movie. Is that true?
Can't discuss this.
$4 million for being in. I would have done it for free.
Nice. Movies is Sam signed up for?
Sam Raimi signed up for at least the next one.
Right.
Okay, so all right.
And so you sign up for it, and the next two you're going to make a reported. This is amazing.
What's the big jump? What's the salary increase?
I got it right here in front of me. Hold on a second.
Oh, this is it.
Toby was paid $4 million for Spider-Man, will reportedly earn $26 million for the sequels.
Oh my God, that surpasses
Wow,
Tom.
Yeah.
Not you. Yeah.
Wow, 26 million.
Getting more.
That's an insane amount of money. You did one of the coolest moves I ever heard for a guy. If I was an actor, I would have done the same thing.
What is this?
After you appeared in Cider House Rules, after you appeared in Wonder Boys, which are two successful films that certainly proved you could act, you did the coolest thing that I think in terms of getting poontang. You went back to acting class. If that isn't the greatest move ever to get quality poontang, when you're in two hit movies, this is what I'm thinking.
They're huge. They're on the big screen. Major releases.
When you show up at acting class, there's tons of hot chicks who only want to be in the movies, and now you've become a movie star.
Why did you do this?
Class. Did you get? Be honest.
Why did you do this?
Like crazy when you did that?
Yes.
I think that's why else would you do it? Why else would you do it? Where did you go to acting class? What campus?
Yeah.
What junior high? What campus did you raid? Really?
I went to this woman, Janet Alhanti.
You're not talking about private acting class. You were in a class.
He was in a class.
I went to a class. There was another class I went to for a while, David LeGrant as well, and there are,
How old are the chicks when you go there? Basically, are they teenagers or are they little
models trying to break into acting?
How many models are in those classes?
21 tops. Not a lot of models. There's,
model caliber.
A real big age range, and there's some beautiful women in there for sure.
Right. And would they go, oh my, and then like even the teacher hasn't been in Cider House Rules, so
Right. How can he? Doesn't he get a little shaky when you walk in?
how can he criticize?
Oh, this was a woman, and she's worked with lots of people, so.
Really?
But when they critique you, do you go, well, in Wonder Boys, we did something different, but...
but you know best.
Right. Fine, I'm sure in your community theater play, you did something different, but...
They're probably critiquing the movies you've been in.
Yeah.
You know what? I've always fantasized that I'll go back to college.
Oh God! And then know what you
know what I
know.
Oh no! Hey, I'm Howard. Hey, Howard Stern's in our class. They get tons of hot young
It's
chicks.
the equivalent of you going to the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Yeah, but I don't know if they have hot chicks at the.
I was there, and I got a couple of hot
Probably
chicks.
the same.
They're
Really?
criminals, but they're hot
They're
chicks.
But why would you want to be a student? Why would you just want to be the professor?
Because then you didn't have an ethical thing. I'm not supposed to hang with students. I'm going back as a student.
Oh, you have ethics.
Yeah, I'll put a beanie on and go back to college. So I'm thinking of doing it back to school, kind of like Rodney
Yeah.
in the movie. Yeah, that would be great. we had Freddie Prinze Jr. in here.
That's
He
very
thought-
interesting. He went
Enough for
back
him.
to
He
doing
thought he was
acting
Spider-Man.
classes.
Spider-Man and wanted that part though. That's the part you wanted.
Oh my
You wanted to be Spider-Man.
Yeah, I wanted that. I learned how to reading Spider-Man comic books.
Did you? I love Spider-Man too. Did
Hang
you
on.
talk to the director Sam Raimi?
Spoke to him. I was the first person he met actually, and but I'm pissed I didn't get it.
Right, but you will go see the movie.
Absolutely.
But it is a dream job. Were you competing with a lot of guys, or was it just right from the get-go you were going to be Spider-Man?
In Sam's mind, I think I was the guy, but the studio wasn't sold on me immediately.
And when they weren't sold on you, isn't it true he went and shot some film with you to prove to them that you'd be a good Spider-Man?
It was a bit of a process, but first we did like an audition on videotape in a little room, and they got it. Took them a couple weeks to see it.
Were you insulted?
My ego was rubbed a little bit, you know.
I mean, you've done enough work. I mean, they could certainly rent Cider House Rules or Wonder Boys to
Sure.
see how you act.
Sure.
And yet who did they want in the role? Who were they suggesting?
I don't know. I heard so many names. It was all rumors as far as I knew.
But this was the role you wanted.
I wanted to do it, and they saw the tape, and they said, well, we know he can act. We want to see him do an action scene.
Right.
So we did a proper screen test, and I wore a blue unitard. And, you know, the unitard...
I'll tell you what I'm thinking at the moment. I'm thinking he's a Gamma NT.
You couldn't see definition. I was in pretty good shape, so I peeled the thing down and tied it off of my waist.
Which is which one?
Fight scene topless.
Smart move for you're talking about a $30 million payday and everything else. I would take my goddamn top off too.
Kid.
Do what you gotta do. Someone told me they wanted Jude Law, Chris Klein, and Leonardo DiCaprio. Those were some of the names being bandied about. But, or is it bandied about?
Bandied.
Bandied about. I don't know. I'm so damn excited.
You know who else they were talking about?
Who?
Chris O'Donnell.
Chris O'Donnell.
Oh, Robin?
Robin from Batman? How freaky would that have been? I guess
Is
Judy
he
Greer
ILI?
from Chris O'Donnell.
I don't know. I don't know yet.
Spider-Man. Go on the set. You actually fell in love with Kirsten Dunst. Now, Robin thinks Kirsten Dunst was a bad choice. Says she's
I actually haven't ruled out LIE.
Mary Jane. In the comic, Mary Jane is a model. And you're right.
She is not the girl
I'm
next
saying he's LIE, just haven't ruled it out yet.
on her.
I think Kirsten Dunst did a fine job. I think it was realistic. I thought you were terrific in the movie. A great Peter Parker.
Thank you.
You did a great job. Because it's not an easy role to pull off. Because a lot of people have expectations.
Yeah.
You did a great job.
Yeah, there's a big fan base out there.
Huge.
Yeah, I thought Kirsten was good. I did. I think she's a good choice. It shouldn't be too hot a chick.
Well, I'll tell you, we read with a lot of girls too, and she was by far the best actress. And also, I think she's very attractive. I mean,
we banged her in real life.
Yeah.
You gotta say it.
You gotta say that. Come on. Oh, I read you. It's almost.
I wonder if his whole thing about of brinkmanship over his salary could be some sort of hidden mobilizing function, extrovert sensation, perhaps. Perhaps. But I don't know. I mean,
Multi-millionaire, and she is very.
it doesn't seem quite dynamic and entrepreneurial enough. Though.
The odds. When do you do it?
I'm saying it took a week.
I'm saying.
Is LSI an option?
When you were just kind of rehearsing, you almost felt.
I don't.
Almost over it by the time they started shooting.
Yeah, probably.
I don't see it easily.
Say, I got an acting class. I got to get.
I don't really see it.
Question. Yeah. Tell me if you ever banged her in your costume. Well, come on. Let's get down to it. Yes.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that we were friends.
Oh, dude, you're killing me. What are you talking about? Everyone, in fact, this guy on my phone said he saw you making out with her in a club. Hold on, I'll get this guy. Yeah. Mike, go ahead. What's up? You're on with Tobey Maguire, the star.
Busted. You were sitting right in front of me at the Coldplay show at the Wiltern in LA, and you had your hands all over her, dude. Give it up. Right in front of me.
He doesn't strike me as someone who's actually as strong extroverted sensation. He strikes me as someone who has a certain wannabeism and extroverted sensation.
Welcome to my. Like you look like a janitor, but then you.
I don't see any. I'm not seeing any introverted logic. I mean, LSI ran through my mind.
So busy
but
making out that you didn't see the job.
Coldplay? Yeah, I saw Coldplay.
Man, now you did. Now, so that's exciting. You got her.
I don't see any sort of certainty creation with him.
I'm surprised to see Cliff Robertson in the movie.
I thought the Spidey web was his hair.
Web, that's Spidey.
When I met you a couple of years ago at the Tonight Show. Yeah. You were like almost engaged to this chick. And
Who was that?
I think some regular girl.
She didn't even have a movie career.
No film career. And I turned to you, I believe, and I pulled you aside. I said, "What are you doing? I hardly know you, but what are you doing?"
Pulled me aside. You did it on the air.
I did.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be nice about it.
You pulled me aside. You said, "What are you doing?"
Well, you obviously took my advice.
I think it's difficult for me to, commit myself to a woman.
And I'm not seeing that much introverted ethics. That's the thing. I'm seeing more. There's more of a sense of like, I'm in. This is a movie. Here to make money. You're gonna give me all this money for this role because I know my value now. It's that sort of approach.
She had a boyfriend at the time.
Not EI. He doesn't strike me as extrovert sensation vulnerable.
No,
He doesn't.
We didn't. No.
Really doesn't. He's actually someone who values extrovert sensation but is weak at it. But he does not strike me as an IEI.
And I would tame. I want to do a remake of that movie that
Swept Away.
Swept Away. Me and Charlize Theron. I take her to an island. I'm a deckhand on a boat. The boat crashes on an island. She's a very spoiled.
There's basically no there's no energy coming from him at all. He's just sort of sitting there and quite blankly, listlessly answering.
To the theater. It'd be bigger than Spider-Man.
Talk about casting. That's perfect casting.
That's right. I'll say that.
Can you be bipolar and vegan? Yeah, I think you can, but I'm not sure an LIU would actually embrace veganism for different reasons. I mean, it could, but
Quincy Jones's daughter. Oh man. Kadita? Or Rashida? Rashida?
I
Or
don't
Mama
know
Sita?
their names.
Shirley. Shirley Jones. You're doing good. Good for you.
You're living. Where are you from?
there's like hardly anything coming from
So
him.
you grew up out there.
Yeah. I didn't grow up in that kind of scene.
What is it, Gary?
He was part of that that whole posse of Leonardo DiCaprio and David Blaine. I mean, those guys must just get the top of the line.
Yeah. Now, how do you get involved with those creeps?
Bunch of punks.
Are you really good friends with Leonardo DiCaprio?
I've been friends with him for years, like 11, 12 years.
Is it hard hanging out with him in a sense? Because now that you're Spider-Man.
He is friends with Leonardo DiCaprio. I think Leonardo DiCaprio is most likely an SCE.
Leonardo DiCaprio. My whole identity got lost. I became Leonardo DiCaprio's friend and part of his posse. It was very upsetting. Screw that.
That didn't bother you.
You don't find that bothersome?
I've always been the independent, quiet one. I keep myself separate in terms of press and all that. And otherwise I'm just his friend. And I understand what David's saying. There's definitely.
I am warming to ILI for him.
Medic. He's like Marlon Brando or something,
He's gotten fat, yes.
I was gonna say, let's hope not.
I am warming to ILI on this. I really am.
Suddenly you go out with this guy and everyone's asking him for autographs. And
Yeah, he does seem more calculating. Says, okay, how am I going to get as much money as possible? And then totally miscalculated his actual leverage.
Now that you're Spider-Man, don't you feel also? I was reading an article in Sports Illustrated how professional sports, particularly basketball, is out of control. Guys have such a big posse of people, an entourage who walk around with them, that it's almost crippling professional sports. Now, you come here today with what, 20 people?
No, not 20.
Almost 20. The whole green room is almost up.
Entourage?
Yeah, who is in your entourage?
There's like 6 people here. But, my manager, he suggested I come on the show here. And we actually asked you guys if I could come on the show.
Absolutely.
So he came with me. And a couple of my buddies came who are big fans as well. So
it's not like you usually travel.
Right. People wanted to come here.
What is it, Baba Booey?
There's a publicist, personal publicist, movie publicist. It's probably more like about 10 people.
Yeah, it's crowded with evil show business people in that.
Be careful.
Our poor intern in the wheelchair couldn't get by because the publicist was in the way.
Oh, dear.
Let's go to George. George, you're on the air with Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, this is a Spider-Man question?
Yeah.
Who killed Peter Parker's parents?
Who killed Peter Parker's
I
parents?
can see how it just find being Peter Parker totally inane. He was not a comic books fan. But he got this role. He's just an actor in the role as far as he's concerned.
Peter Parker's. I don't know that. I don't know from the comics, but there was some stuff in the script about them dying in an airplane crash or something, which I don't know if that's the case.
I don't even think I know that.
You know, Howard, I don't know who's smart about Spider-Man because Toby had told me that. I can't say now.
What?
One of the villains, I think you got the name wrong. The Gremlin, he says, is called the Hobgoblin.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you something.
Not the Hobgoblin.
No.
It's the Goblin.
Isn't
Goblin.
the eventually
Green Goblin, not the Hobgoblin.
Spider-Man is that the son, your best friend, eventually will become like his father. And I thought he's called the Gremlin.
I think he's called the Hobgoblin.
You're right. I think he might be the Hobgoblin. All right.
Oh,
so Howard, I want that. I'm one up on Howard already. I want that.
You've been saying that for several days. You've been on for several days.
Catch me on Superman and Batman. All right.
Online 28 is the guy who has some.
All right. We'll see how you do, buddy. All right. We're on with Tobey Maguire. Spider-Man opens this Friday in theaters everywhere. They've done a brilliant job of publicizing it.
Unbelievable. Jeffrey Amer just crushed this.
What do you think will be the opening weekend gross? Because that is important.
About things like that.
See, there is nothing about EI. There isn't vulnerability to him. There's just aloofness.
Talk about it all the time.
I think they'll do 100 million.
They got it.
Oh, I don't know about that.
What's the highest gross of all time?
Harry Potter.
What
And
they
what
do?
was that? 100 something, right?
No, I think it was like just shy of 100. I'm not
96 or
something like
I guarantee you'll hit 100 on this. It's going to be.
What a dirty record.
You got to.
I think you're going to. And plus, it's a good movie. I thought Harry Potter.
He knows which films made the most money. Which makes sense. He is financially oriented. Hence why poker is an attraction to him.
He's going to get a lot of back end.
This one, how?
Second one, though.
Next one, you get all the points.
I do okay. If I do all three films, I do okay.
Yeah. It'll be worth $100 million.
Some tells me you got a lot of back end already out of this movie.
Yeah, he's not like Jason from Halloween. He doesn't have to save his mask for extra
That's
cash.
So funny. Did you take home one of the spider suits?
No, I didn't even ask, which I should have.
Have I heard?
Another thing I'd say, for someone going into poker, Delta wouldn't. I'm not sure why Delta would want to go into poker. Poker is gambling, of course. It does draw upon a certain amount of skill in terms of being able to read up on tells that people may or may not be showing, and figuring out the way to probabilities with your hand and that sort of thing. There is an element of skill to poker. It's not there's no sort of use or helping people in poker. It's more, I'm going to get my skills, and I'm going to, with a bit of luck as well, quite a lot of luck as well as my skills, I'm going to win all the money. I'm going to take all the money. It's quite gamma rather than delta. I think that's worth mentioning as well here.
4 got stolen.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
We had over 20 of them though, so.
Yeah, it's a cool outfit, dude. The costuming is real good. I mean, if I had one criticism of the film, I thought that Willem Dafoe's character should have had a mask that moved a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we tried to bring him to life a little by, being able to see his mouth and having the eyelids open.
Yeah, make him a little more organic.
Yeah, which was good though. I thought in a couple of the scenes you get to see him.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Hey, Gary, I can barely hear you. Who changes the levels on?
I don't know.
Well, go ahead.
You know, the suits were $100,000 each, and they had 24 of them, so it's $2.4 million just on the suits.
Yeah, what's the budget on that?
That's not quite accurate, but it is expensive. I don't remember what the exact budget was, but.
Do they have a great craft services table when you're working on a Spider-Man?
Pretty good, although I couldn't graze there.
Because you had to watch your weight.
Yeah, I had to stay in shape.
And in fact, probably everybody's watching you when you walk by, because the whole movie hangs on that.
Exactly.
Now, we heard, according to Autograph Magazine, you are the worst guy to approach for an autograph. Why? You were voted first. Now,
wow.
What is that
all
about?
Well, that's because in LA, as I, get out of my car to go eat at a restaurant, people are standing there who sell autographs. Or get my autograph. I'm just not interested in signing those autographs. I mean, if a little kid wants an autograph, or someone who's really a fan, or if I'm working, I'm at an event, I'll sign some autographs. But if I'm like living my personal life and people who want to make some money off of my signature, I don't really take any time.
Are you like me? If you're around hot chicks, you will sign autographs to make yourself look good?
I think it's just the opposite.
See, I do.
If you don't sign them, you look even cooler.
You think? I'll have to think that through. I'm always grateful for my fans to coming up and asking me for an autograph in front of hot chicks.
You know that on a number of occasions you have said nobody bothered me, and it was real bummer when you were trying to.
People were being very
He's not obliging in public, and he always assumes that someone's coming to an autograph. They could just be looking to sell it, and that's all cynicism. Which no,
it's a fan, somebody who really is a fan rather than someone who just wants to make some money.
Needs to detect that it's genuine.
Stop for and you're going to turn around and sell it then. You're a degenerate gambler. Frame it. So, all right, let the fans get a couple of questions.
He's got a reputation for being awful with autographs. I think also speaks up somewhat.
Tobey Maguire was kind of he didn't sign any autographs. He ran away from a crew of kids. And, the kids surrounded his trailer screaming Spider-Man. Do you remember that, Toby?
I do, yeah.
It was kind of fun.
What do you want him to do?
What was that?
What do you want him to do about it?
Man, I think he could have been a lot cooler about it. You know what I mean? Bunch of kids.
Well, when you're working, I mean, you're supposed to be. In his defense, I worked on a movie. You don't have time for nonsense. You really do work.
Yeah, what are the kids doing there?
Yeah. Well, they were just hanging around with him last year.
So how much is your autograph worth now? Now that you're Spider-Man, it's got to be worth a fortune, right?
I don't really know. What were you doing?
Yeah, well, why were you not busy working?
Who, me?
Were these a group of white children or black children?
Kind of mixed, Hispanic, black.
That's why I stayed in.
Yeah, he was probably scared.
They were wild.
They were wilding in the trailer.
Wilding all over the trailer. You can't go in there out there. This guy's got a wallet.
Yeah, they thought he thought he was being attacked, sir.
He thought his trailer was going to lose the tires.
Toby, is that what happened? You saw a lot of black kids?
Windows, close the doors.
No.
Would you ever sign anything Toby Spider-Man Maguire? Never.
No, but sometimes I put Spidey down there if it's someone who's like a fan of Spider-Man.
I'm gonna need
Now, how do you see the future laying out here?
Yeah, what's our plan?
What's our plan?
Yeah.
Go now. Boom. That we have this power.
Not only what kind of house you got now?
I just bought a house.
Nice, a bachelor pad.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. I'm excited. I'm working on it now.
You still with Kirsten, or you seen some other chicks?
I'm a single man.
Are you?
There's going to be stewardesses.
Mixed reputation. So there's a difficult. Other is private nature. There's a strong dislike paparazzi. Described in memoirs rude and high stakes social settings. The professional actor keeps a low profile.
Problem now, you got to work with this person you used to
Quite
have.
some negative anecdotes of high stress situations. Eugenics is a private individual who's managed to stay out of tabloid spotlight in recent years. He's a douchebag, treats people badly.
Theoretical situation, hypothetical situation. So let's say you're with. By the way, if I were you, I'd bang Ashley Judd. You could get her.
People who aren't rich or privileged, here's people who are a pain to work with. He insults the crew, his fans, interviewers, about anyone. That's called Tugboat Toby because he thinks he's small but strong like a tugboat. Doesn't tell you what. What? As a parody article, not true. Okay, fine. That's good.
So you're gonna
mad.
So tell me how it's gonna work. In other words, you bought this bachelor pad. I got a million questions.
And when you say you're working on it, what are you putting in the blackout shades and the button?
Okay, well, how big is the pad?
It's a nice size.
We pay a couple of mil.
What, are you on a cliff somewhere overlooking the ocean?
You overlook the ocean?
I have a view. Really nice
really?
view.
See.
Why? Interesting that as well. Why did Charlize Theron feel that? Doesn't really say much. Known for a quiet, focused lifestyle, enjoys skiing, spend time with his children, maintains a vegan diet. I was going to say daily routine. What? What is this? I don't know. No. I don't know. I also think Vanilla would actually have stuck with this mainstream role for longer. Real pictures. What happened? What's happened to my camera? I've got the annoying camera on again. Why is that happening? Sorry, folks. Let me just get this sorted. No, it's the wrong camera. That's annoying. And there we go. Right. Where was I? So, competitive puzzling. So this is doing jigsaw puzzles. This was an avid art collector, frequenting major fairs such as Art Basel and Army Show. Collection of hoarding including works by artists such as Oscar Murillo and Salvador Dali. But he just does a sort of few things he enjoys, really. He doesn't strike me as a sort of workaholic figure. He has sort of refined interests, and which some of these which happen to make quite a bit of money. Meanwhile, his producing seems to be his desire to build something himself, has his own creative direction, which has not actually been very successful in terms of money making. Interesting how he approaches being a producer. Character development. Rather than waiting for roles, he focused on finding, developing, and building or acquiring the rights to projects he's passionate about, such as Pawn Sacrifice and the comedy I Take You. Why Pawn Sacrifice? He describes his career approach as being like water, indicating the desire to adapt to be productive across different facets of the industry. He's increasingly shifted towards steering projects from the ground up, ensuring he has a hand in the artistic direction. What is Pawn Sacrifice about? It's a biographical psychological drama film about Bobby Fischer. Right. Why did Maguire acquire it? So he actually played Bobby Fischer in it. Hmm. That's annoying. This is an interesting answer. Asked if he was able to utilize his knowledge of poker in this role. It's very different. I think Bob himself hated games if there was any element of chance. When he was 6 years old, he would play some other games. Where there was any element of chance, whether it was cards or dice, something like that, he'd get very frustrated because skill would maybe give him an advantage, and the chance element would take that advantage away. He almost felt that was unfair. So he no longer used to play games that have any element of chance, and he wanted to play a strictly skill-based game, essentially chess. All the control, and it was all skill, and the communication was very pure. He loved that there was this framework, that it was pure communication with the person who he was playing with. There's no kind of manipulation or something else that could happen. It's like a safe space to communicate purely. I also think that it doesn't hurt that I played games or battled people with the boards and felt like tables. And across felt tables. Looking at both games, there's a similarity between them. Cards are acting on current partial information. You have cards that I don't see. So I'm then kind of mostly looking at your historical behaviors as it relates to betting and less on ticks and moves and stuff. I think there's way too much put on so-called tells. That's interesting. He looks at patterns in how people play, not the tells. It's much more about patterns of betting. I think that's much more reliable than behavioral tells. I do think it's a huge differential because in chess there is no hidden information. Just all of it is right in front of you. There's nothing hidden. Anything you're guessing or second guessing is really in your preparation. But it was extremely consistent, would play the same opening move over and over and over and over and again. He actually went, and I believe, although I don't have a proof of this, but based on people I talked to, they basically studied variations he hadn't played before and ended up using a different opening move in game six. It's very unusual for him. It's probably he was doing what you're talking about, kind of not counting on, but anticipating. He was not prepared to open with that. So in that way, that's a comparison I could draw in relation to what you asked. This is the thing about Toby. So his approach to poker is sort of I could say it's strategic one. It's one where he looks for the trends in how people bet, and he plays off those trends. So he builds a knowledge of the people he's playing against, not based on physical body language or tells, but rather how they tend to bet, and he uses that in order to win. So there's actually a certain amount of introverted ethics and introverted intuition that's implicit in that. And I find that very interesting. It's also not quite the data crunching one might have expected. It is a certain amount of data crunching. Let's see. And in fact, it's interesting in that character of Bobby Fischer as some sort of this complex character. And it was a character study as well, which again also suggests a certain amount of introverted ethics. If you look at LIE directors, directors not saying producers, but fine. Usually it's less. Actually, no, I take that back. Who directed Oppenheimer again? Christopher Nolan. Then again, is Oppenheimer that much of a character study? It's interesting. I don't know, because even with Oppenheimer, it's more about the themes around Oppenheimer, necessarily Oppenheimer himself. I don't know. I'm shifting more. I'm not saying I'm shifting. I think ILI is more likely. Looking at how he is in this interview, Howard Stern, I'm thinking ILI. I'm still thinking ILI. There is no sign of extrovert here.
Don't have the room for that. Don't have the land.
Shocked. No pool?
I have a pool.
Got the pool?
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to be over there? Leonardo? Let's see how he deals with that.
Eventually, Leonardo is also very clear. Leonardo, SCE, ILI. It makes sense as a sort of duality. It doesn't mean much. You can have an activated relationship, but the response to Leonardo sort of crowding out everyone, and you have to be able to play second fiddle. He doesn't mind that. He is kind of independent.
This job.
From it. So there's none of that sort of competition between extrovert sensation one might have expected with activators. That actually, to me, is the strongest evidence in terms of a duality relationship rather than an activated relationship. That his independence means it doesn't matter that Leonardo DiCaprio is such a big personality.
You know, the relationship cools down. You start to see that Kirsten Dunst or someone is just another person that perhaps you don't get along with. Then it's got to be weird doing a movie with that person again.
Well, you know, that's people say that's like the golden rule. You don't get involved with people you work with.
But everyone does.
But you and Robin, have you guys?
Sure, I bang Robin every day.
Yeah, but we've managed to, you know, keep civil about the whole thing.
And me and Fred.
We act like we don't do it. I've done Fred 4 times.
ILI is. I think he's ILI.
I saw Spider-Man again.
Again?
Already?
Yeah.
Because he was at our screen.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a lot better. You got to see it again, Howard. It's a lot better the second time. You know, the first time, you know, you're so anticipating this movie because I'm a huge fan. But you see it second time, you mellow out, and you just kind of watch it, and it's so good. But you know, one thing, man. You know, Howard. You know, we were talking about those web shooters.
Yeah.
You know, wasn't it cooler in the comic that he made them?
I disagree. You know, I agree with Sam Raimi's choice. That it would have sort of, it is sort of unbelievable in the story in the comic that Peter Parker suddenly developed this incredible web that could scientifically hold a human being up.
The spider venom make him smarter.
No. It makes him stronger, gives him spider sense, but also in the movie they changed it around and made it organic to Spider-Man that he could shoot a web.
Yeah, but it was so cool that he kind of sat in his room and he made these things and it sort of made him embrace his power.
He made
the costume. That wasn't that exciting. It was more exciting when he started pressing on his hands and
Yeah,
spider gunk started coming out.
Toby, that was pretty cool.
What was that?
How'd you make that costume?
How did Peter design that costume?
Yeah, that wasn't explained, but he is a scientist.
Yeah, he worked with James Atchison, the costume designer, and came up with some really good costume.
There you go.
And you know, Kirsten Dunst, while she wasn't like incredibly beautiful, she played the role really good.
She did.
She was great. I think she's terribly attractive.
Look,
well, you banged her. You got to say
that hard.
You know what? Kirsten Dunst in a climax interview. I heard you on Howard, and when you said I was incredibly attractive, I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Oh, so sweet, Toby. I'm not paying again.
See you at acting class.
Yeah, acting class. You gonna go back to acting?
Go, bro. You got it now.
The Spider-Man, I'm definitely going. I'm gonna go like visit lots of different acting classes.
Yeah.
Though I'm gonna audit classes.
Yeah, do some exercises, some improv exercises.
I agree with Ralph that Kirsten Dunst did a very good job. I like that she wasn't the, Julia
Overly
Roberts. Yeah, overly hot, I wouldn't have bought.
She would have been definitely the hottest.
Another thing I'd say, Tobey Maguire's acting does actually seem quite limited. Where he has had these sorts of dramatic moments, they also look quite strange. You look back at them. But look at Tobey Maguire and Spider-Man 2. No, Spider-Man 3. There's quite a lot of that. Oh, what's this? I haven't seen this.
Same performance by Tobey Maguire genuinely scared Natalie Portman on set. Playing a war veteran struggling with PTSD, Maguire delivers such raw, explosive anger that his co-stars were genuinely unsettled on set. Natalie Portman, who plays his wife, has spoken about how his emotional breakdowns felt uncomfortably real, the kind of acting that blurs the line between performance and reality. The dinner table scene alone is a masterclass in controlled chaos. Maguire transforms from the sweet-faced Peter Parker we knew into someone unrecognizable, a broken man whose trauma manifests in ways that feel authentic and deeply disturbing. This insane performance...
I think his acting's got better, but I think he probably has to continue to take classes. Spider-Man. Yeah. It's ridiculous. I mean, like to do that, you almost have to really have no idea how that actually is coming across.
Specimen you left me, Parker. Chemistry is not unlike the chondritic meteorites of the 70s. That's good. Know what, Parker? Parker? Smell. It amplifies characteristics of its host. Give me another cookie. Especially aggression. Oh, yeah. Could be dangerous. Peter, you didn't keep any, did you? You got any with nuts?
I have some nuts I could make some.
Go make me some. Peter? No. Of course not.
This is so bad. It is so bad.
Shots are so good.
I'd love to show you sometime.
Oh, dear.
Listen, I hired you for Black Suit Spider-Man. Peter, these are incredible. You gotta have these, Jonah. I'll pay you the usual rate.
You want the shots? I'll take the staff job. Double money.
Yeah, but this is basically what he's like. Except not nearly as charismatic. Like, it's almost like who he wants to be. Oh my goodness. It's so cringy. Yeah. Right, okay. So yeah, I lie. I think I lie for Tobey Maguire. All right, thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope that's been helpful. All right. Well, hope you have a lovely rest of your week. Well, lovely week to come. And thank you everyone for the super chats. Greatly appreciated. Thank you for tuning in. All the best. Bye-bye.